Take a ride. Grab your coffee and strap yourself in.
If you listen, we can hear God's plan.
Because the show is about to begin. You're listening to the Omega Man Radio Network.
Man, all I can say is Da Nang. That music is awesome. Sister Marcia keeps outdoing herself every time, man. How did I miss this music? I love this. We're going to have to set up a special Omega Man Best of the Hits. These are great.
I'm sure she'd come up with some for you.
Wow.
This was done by Whiteheart.
I've never heard of the group. That's awesome.
Oh, they were around a lot in the 90s. And she said we needed something a little more lively tonight because it's so late, at least for me. I mean, she's already gone to bed. She lives in Eastern time, and 11 o'clock is past her bedtime. But she said we would have to have louder music. So tonight, we will have louder music.
Plenty of music and plenty of Nescafe in the can. Praise the Lord. Everybody, welcome. Brother Tom, let you jump on into it. The mic is yours. Roll with it.
Okay. Hoping we'll have a little discussion here because I've got a lot of papers in front of me tonight. This has been, all I can say is a rather interesting market. Cryptocurrencies this afternoon, or actually for the last couple of days, were sort of in free fall. And the only thing I can really peg it to was a couple of days ago I was watching the Lisk product relaunch. And honestly, I was starting to doze a little bit. It was, it was on in the afternoon for me, and I was preparing for the show I had with Major Baird a couple of days ago. And suddenly somebody picks up the phone, calls me, and says, Tom, have you seen what Lisk is doing? What the coin price is doing? And so I slipped over there and checked, and it had been down $4 in 1 hour. And I said, these guys are not reaching their audience. Well, their show would go for another 2 hours. If you want, you can find it on YouTube. And trouble is they got a little bit too technical, and they didn't answer the question that you need to answer in a public event like they have. What is it going to do for me? How is it going to make me money? And some people would say, well, isn't that a little crass? And I said, well, when you're putting an event on for potential investors to watch, you had better show them why they should invest in your cryptocurrency rather than the other 1,999 others that are out there. You got to tell me what makes yours more valuable in my pocket than yours. And so I kept watching Lisk. It's one of them that I still think has a good future. I like their product. They didn't sell it to me, but that doesn't mean it's a bad product. It just means they need to learn how to market. And when I see a 30-something marketing director there, I know they have a problem. Marketing is something you learn over long years of experience. They need to bring in somebody just a little bit older who knows how to reach people. And if there's people from LISC, please give me a call. I'll gladly talk to you about this. But the interesting thing is, LISC didn't stop going down. In fact, when I look on my sheet here, I got the wrong sheet. Even though it is still number 8 on my list, it's down to $21. This is a case of an epic fail. But what was interesting was the 22nd, we actually saw. I'm now following 68 currencies. 64 of them were down. But you know what's interesting? Of the 3 currencies that did go up, I had suggested people look at them and consider an investment in them on my cryptocurrency report last night. I suggested V-Chain, I suggested AE Eternity and Walton Chain. And AE Eternity was one of and Nano, which I also mentioned that report. In fact, my friend said, you sort of went on about them. I said, well, I like their concept of moving money quickly. I look for that because cryptocurrencies need to do one of 2 things. One, they've got to be able to move your money quickly. They have to be able to move your money quickly. Or you've got to be able to come up with some improvement in your blockchain technology. You got to come up with a better mousetrap. And when you come up with that better mousetrap, you have to come up with a way to sell it so people understand why your mousetrap's better than brand X. So, yes, yesterday was a bit of a downer, but that doesn't mean the world of cryptocurrency's over. In fact, as I check them now, they sort of wandered back up today. As I stare at it, Bitcoin's at $9,876. Not bad considering it was down to 6,000 a few days ago. Yes, it was up to 11,000 about 3 days ago. But again, one of the things we try to do at the report is sort of catch when these things are at their top and they're going down, and when they're at their bottom and going up. You know, again, we said when I first talked about it, the bulls make money, the bears make money, the hogs get slaughtered. So, you know, you pick your times to get in into the market, you make your money, and you get out. And that's the time to start looking for something else. And realize that when prices go up too fast, too quickly, that's usually a warning. It's time to get rid of the currency and look for something else. And I've never seen that rotation so prolific as I've seen it in crypto coins. We're now following 68 of them. And right now, I'm amazed at some of the things I see. One of the ones Shannon mocked me about a couple of weeks ago was Ethereum Classic.
Wait, I didn't mock you about it.
You said, that's old currency. It's old technology. It'll never do anything. And sure enough, it's number 5. It's been going up quite a bit. It was at something like $20 when I talked about it. It's up to $30 now.
You know what? As we speak, at the time of this show, which is Thursday, February 22nd, 11:38 p.m., it's jumped up to $34.05. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at coinmarketcap.com, which is one website that tracks currencies. Of course, Tom has a cryptocurrency report, and he has his own ranking. So I just looked it up there, and 3405. For those that don't know what Ethereum Classic was, in short, it was the original Ethereum that was launched by Vitalik Buterin, I believe is his name. Vitalik Buterin.
Yes.
And
I'm not good at Russian, so.
I think they got hacked is what happened. For some reason they had to fork. I don't remember all the specifics. But when they forked, they got things worked out. There was the original, which is called Ethereum Classic, like Coke Classic. And then there's the modern one, the new fork, which has been out for a few years now, called just Ethereum. Symbol is ETH. Ethereum Classic is ETC. But you know what? I can tell you firsthand, in 6 months, I've seen that thing jump up almost 3x. Because many people were mining Ethereum Classic, and one coin was worth like $10. It's worth 34 today. So a lot of people were mining Ethereum Classic and converting it into Bitcoin. In retrospect, it'd been better to hang on to it, and when it jumped up 3x, then sell your holdings, and now you got triple what you mined. Back to you.
Yes. Well, one of the things that happened, and, last time I was on, we were sort of in the midst of the bear market. That was about 3 weeks ago. And about 2 days after that, suddenly we had disaster in Asia. The markets went down, all of them. China, Japan, Indonesia, India, everybody was going down. What did the Asian investors do? They ran to cryptocurrencies. This is the first time I've ever seen them do it en masse. Suddenly, instead of a bear market, they're pulling back up. And since that time, I have seen a new, what you'd call phenomenon. I'm seeing what are called cash equivalent cryptocurrencies, of which Bitcoin is obviously one, Ethereum is another one, Ripple is another one, Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, Ethereum Classic, and there's also Moreno can be put in that class, digital cash, and I have found that when the markets go south, which they do in Asia pretty often, you can have a good market one day, next day, kaboom. Asian markets move a lot faster than their American counterparts. In America, we can have a bull market and go on for 2-3 weeks, like we saw in the first part of January. The market was going up, up, and up, and nobody, and I mean nobody, could believe what they were seeing. Suddenly we had records in the Dow Jones Industrial Average, we had records in S&P 500, and most everyone that I followed was up, and up into record level. And then suddenly one day, it went kerthud. We had one of the largest losses in the history of American stock exchanges. What went up? Cryptocurrencies. Even the Americans were starting to use cryptocurrencies to protect their assets in down markets. That's one of the reasons when I send out my cryptocurrency report, I send you a report of major world market indices. And the reason I do is because if the world stock markets are down, cryptocurrencies are likely to be up because they're protecting their assets. A lot of people who trade on the stock markets, they trade millions and billions of dollars. They trade blocks of thousands and even tens of thousands of shares. And so for them, if they lose, say, $5 a share in one day, it's a disaster. And they got to explain that to their boss when they get home. But if they can tell the boss, well, I got out in time and went into cryptocurrencies, which went up, well, the boss is good with it. And it's been interesting, all these banks that say, this is not a good thing. Cryptocurrencies are they're just vaporware. They're going to die. Yet when you start looking at their portfolios, guess what they all had? Cryptocurrencies. And now they've had to realize that they've been lying to their public. And it isn't a good thing for companies to lie to the public, because the regulatory agencies start getting interested. Because if they're lying on this, are they lying on other things? And if so, maybe they're lying on their 10K reports, which every publicly traded company has to file with the SEC every year. And when they do, it's public record. Investors rely on that 10K. And the SEC goes to great lengths to make sure that those 10Ks are accurate. Well, back to the cryptocurrencies. We're starting to see trends, and now it's becoming very important. If you're a smart cryptocurrency investor, you've got to understand cryptocurrencies is not an island. It is part of a total market watch. You have to pay attention to everybody throughout the world. You know, cryptocurrencies trade 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 and a quarter days per year. So what we're looking at with these is we're looking at cryptocurrencies that, while they're doing well in some regards, you know, yesterday was a disaster. Today, we're starting to see life. And as I check the coin market, the cryptocurrency market capitalizations, I am seeing some improvements. Not a lot, but we're still seeing some. But it's still a tough market because before I got on, I checked the Japanese markets up. The Hang Seng in Hong Kong is up, and Shanghai is up. I haven't checked India yet. They're just getting started. They're a few hours down the road, so they don't start up right away. Australia was up. I didn't check New Zealand. I don't usually check that one, even though it is on my World Market Index. But we're seeing a lot of ups today, so it's not surprising that the cryptocurrencies are down. In fact, that's one of the reasons I start to tell people the cash equivalents are fine. And you want to look for the cash equivalents that can offer people something that Brand X doesn't. We mentioned Monero. Why is Monero so interesting? It's because it offers a private blockchain so that not everybody can see who owns it and who sold it. You can't. It's confidential. And that makes it one of the ones that does well. And if you look through here, Zcash. had a little trouble lately, but it's also another one that it's 36 on my list at the moment, and it's had a few problems. But it's still in its base of a good cash product.
There are a class of coins called privacy coins, which are pretty much anonymous compared to others which can be more easily tracked. If you were going to be looking to do a transaction, you want a total anonymity, and not saying you would want that for nefarious purposes. I'm not implying that, but I'm just saying, you have a right to privacy, don't you? Of course.
Well, I don't think you have much in the United States.
That really should be a rhetorical question, because in America we don't have much. The banks don't want you to have much. No, your customer doesn't want you to have much. I'm just saying, people want to tax it. But Monero is the king daddy of the privacy coins. There is a new guy coming on the block. I got to check. I think it comes out in a few days. And it's going to be a mineable coin, meaning people can mine it with their computer. That may be of interest to some people. With a GPU card, it's called Bitcoin Private. You say, is there more than Bitcoin? Oh, yeah. There's Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin Gold, Bitcoin Z, Bitcoin Diamond. There's about as many Bitcoins as there are ingredients for gumbo, shrimp gumbo. But they're not all the same. But this Bitcoin Private should be interesting, because what they did is I think they forked the Bitcoin blockchain, and they added on a thing called Z-Snark technology, which is borrowed from Zcash, which is probably going to make this a privacy coin. And there's some other things, attributes I forget right now off the top of my head. I mean, look, folks, there's new stuff coming on the market every day. Tom will tell you, I think where we stand now, there's over 2,000 coin/tokens on the market. Would that be true?
At least. And I can't even keep track of the number, because there's new ICOs every day, what they call initial coin offerings. And people are getting very, very interested in them, because it's a lot easier to do an ICO than it is to do an initial public offering. In fact, today, some banking group was complaining, why are there not all the IPOs we used to see in the 90s? Nobody wants to do an IPO now. Well, I sort of understand why. You can do an ICO. You don't have to pay all the money to brokers and investment bankers to get the thing privately placed. And you can get it done months quicker. And you don't have to go get yourself a full-fledged audit. 2, you don't have to file a bunch of papers with the SEC. And 3, you don't have to make 50 lawyers rich trying to do it.
So you get some idea, and you need venture capital. Maybe you want to come out with the world's first fusion reactor, and you have the blueprint to do so, and you believe you can build it, but you need $1 billion to build it. I'm just saying. What you do is you release Fusion Coin, let's say, and all of a sudden, in about 10 minutes, if it's a popular idea, you could have raised $1 billion. Hundreds of millions. It's not out of the ordinary to do that. Tens, hundreds of millions of dollars in minutes, literally, or hours or days, just depends. Some of them are going out in minutes. And you got the money right there. Now, the sad part, Tom, is the follow-through of these companies that all of a sudden got all the money they could ever hope for with grandiose plans. Very, very few of them follow through. So, investor beware. And some of them are clear-cut scams like BitConnect, which they're looking for some of the dudes right now who started that. There's others that are legitimate. There's others that looked legitimate, and I thought that they would be, but then they don't carry through. They just kind of fade away. That is the landscape of what we're talking about tonight. The ability to raise humongous sums of money, issuing a coin, which you can then in turn trade on their online exchanges, which run 24/7, and they've got them set up worldwide in different locations around the world. And some people are, purists. They're interested in the blockchain or technology. You've got the anarchists, which want to see the dollar die, which, the Lord rebuked them in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Because if what they want to happen happens, we're in anarchy in America. We don't want to see America destroyed. But you got anarchists out there. There's no question about that. And we're not crypto anarchists, Tom and I. Then you got other people who are in it as an opportunity to speculate. They care less about the technology, but they see something which brings an opportunity that they haven't seen, for example, with gold or silver, which have been stores of value, but you can't make much money off gold and silver when it's been artificially suppressed for 10 years at least. But
try about 30.
Folks, it's sad. I bought an ounce of gold in 2007 from Steve Quayle. He charged me the spot, which is $1,200 at the time, plus a $100 commission fee, which is fair, and he shipped me the coin. I held on to it for a few years. I needed the money. I took it down to a gold dealer, sold it, and he wrote me a check, and I had the cash back. So, yes, it was a good store of value. But 10 years later, gold's going for about the same amount. Not a great investment if you're looking to put money on something to get a return, but in the world of crypto, we're looking at Bitcoin, for example, which went from zero. It's been around for about 9 years now or so. It hit as high as almost $20,000 a few months ago. Now, today, as we're doing this program in real time, I'm looking at the chart. It's at $10,080 now. It's still almost 10x.
Refresh mine.
About a year or so ago, it was going for under $1,000. I think it was $700. What is that? That's over 10x in return.
That's a major return. You don't go into this thinking you're going to get that kind of return. There's a lot of people who got lucky. And you don't.
You're right. You can't expect that with every coin or token, can you?
No. In fact, don't expect that. If you get 30% a year investing cryptocurrency, you're going to be on the top of the world.
And people who bought in cheap, bought them, they said if you put $100 into buying Bitcoin in 2013, that would be worth several $1 million today. A friend of mine told me a personal story. He works with Homeland Security, and one of the guys who worked in the office in El Paso, Border Patrol agent, recently, last couple months, resigned. They said, "Where are you going?" He says, I don't need to work anymore. What are you talking about? You don't need to work anymore. You're not 65. He says, "I got all the money I need." What? He said, "Yeah, y'all remember when crypto hit the news? I put $5,000 of my savings into it. That money is worth millions to that guy now. I think he walked away with, it's worth $20 million. He cashed out, and he said, bye-bye. I'm going to work on my golf handicap, whatever. I'm going to Miami. Buy myself a speedboat, with 4 motors, Miami Vice style, whatever. Bottom line is, there have been a lot of money made. There's Fortune magazine had a list of, some of the world's most wealthy people who made money in crypto. And they say the world's first trillionaire will be created from a crypto coin. Someone invested in it. So there's no guarantee. And many of these coins are duds. Many of them will never be what Bitcoin is. But some have great potential, and people are looking for the next Bitcoin. And when I look at the list of top 25 coins, and I see coins that you can buy today for 3 cents, 3 pennies, and I'm thinking, wow, wait a minute, 3 cents. Let me do the math. 10, 100,000, $30. You could buy 1,000 of those coins. What if you sit on them and it goes to $1? Hey, that's not a bad return. No guarantee. But that's the $1 million question.
I would say this much. You got to look at a few factors if you're going to study this. For example, the one you're thinking about is called Cardano. It's going for 3.33 cents right now, actually. But there is 25 billion coins out there, which is why it's 33 cents. That's a huge bargain. Stellar's another one. I like Stellar, but there's 18 billion coins out there, so it's going to have a hard time going up. And I have yet to see a reverse split in these coins. It could happen someday, but
so one of the factors you're looking at is what's called the circulating supply. Is that what you mean when you say
right?
Stellar has 18 billion coins in the market?
Yes.
Versus
over 18.
And explain why that's important versus Bitcoin, which has 16 million and there'll only ever be 21 million made. Why is the circulating supply important?
That's what they say. They're only going to have 21.
Yep.
But I don't know that I believe them. And the reason the circulating supply is important is if you have more of any coin, the individual coins will then be worth less. And the only way they can go up is if whoever is doing the coin creates some kind of economic value with it. That's one of the reasons I like VeChain so much. Is they're maybe it's a little bit of an antichrist thing where they're going to be able to mark people with it. But the thing is, until it gets to that point, and that's a long ways off, it's creating value because people have found a way to use what are called smart contracts. That are contracts that when you deliver the goods, you immediately get paid. But if you don't deliver the goods, you don't get paid. But the interesting thing is when you deliver the goods, the seller gets paid almost immediately. And that's what makes VeChain my number one pick. It has done very, very well. It's a little slow as of late. Everybody has been. But that's why you have to look for the value in these things. And the value right now is in how quickly...
90 seconds.
Disregard that. We got 20 seconds.
Yeah. Is how quickly you can turn that into cash and how quickly you can get it back into a coin. And that's why, for example, Bitcoin is popular because you can move it back and forth quickly. That's why Litecoin is number 2 on the list. And I sort of have to laugh a little bit. Dogecoin, which was started as a joke, is number 3 on the list. And Dogecoin is 0.6 of a cent a piece. But it's had such good returns that now suddenly it's number 3 on the list. But it's a poor man's way to protect his cash. When his stock market investments go, he gets out of it, and since he can't buy a $10,000 Bitcoin, he buys himself a Dogecoin. And he can buy a few thousand of them, protect his cash, and then when the market gets better, he can get out. And before I can start throwing rocks at that, I've started seeing several places where you can use Dogecoin.
Brother,
somebody decided to make this a serious venture and not a joke. So give the people credit.
It's not a joke to me. Now you call it Doge. Some people call it Doge. But I see a picture of a dog on there, and I prefer to call it Dogecoin. And before we continue, let's celebrate it. I just wanted to celebrate Dogecoin. Dogecoin. Let me tell you something.
Oh.
There's some people laughing all the way to the bank who got into the Dogecoin, the Doge, or the Doge. cheap because that thing jumped up into the top 10, didn't it?
It's, I can say right now, it is number 3 on the list.
Wow.
And I'm not laughing anymore. I find it's doing better than, say, Bitcoin, which is number 6. It's doing better than Ethereum Classic, which is number 5. It's doing better than Moreno. It's doing better than Lisk. Doing better than anything except for Litecoin and VeChain. And I'm scratching my head on that. But then, there's been other things that have started as jokes and they become serious. So you have to evaluate things on their merits and how they performed. And the fact that there is a certain amount of trust brought into this that I didn't see it, but somebody did, and somebody made some money off of it. I just think there's other places that I would put that money right now than I would there, because it's a good cash equivalent. But for most of the people, I think, that are listening to this tonight, they want to make some money and they want to find something that's going to do that for them. And as we we're almost closing in on the first hour being done.
Well,
and so
we're live with Professor Tom Mack talking about his cryptocurrency report tonight, and welcome aboard. Folks, stay with us because there is plenty of opportunity into this. This is like the birth of the internet. Folks, crypto is here to stay, and this is good that you're listening to a talk on it tonight. You're some of the, as they call them, the first adopters, It's like the people that went out and began prospecting for the gold rush. There are winners and losers in this, and Tom is evaluating it to try and find out what's going to be the next big winner. You mentioned this thing, though, about circulating supply. I think it's important to illustrate or illuminate a little bit more about that. The term scarcity. What is scarcity, and what is that? Why is that significant to the talk we're having tonight about different coins?
Okay, in economic theory, you go to your econ class. The first thing you're going to talk about is every good or service is scarce. There's a limited supply of it. The less there is, the more it's going to cost. So when I see, say, Ripple, for example, there are 39 billion ripples out there. It's not as scarce as, say, Bitcoin, which has only got 16,881,200 Bitcoins. So that's why it's $10,000 and Ripple is 94 cents. And Ripple's another poor man's currency. You can buy a little Ripple, and I think one of the things that favors it is it's close to $1 in value, and it seems to stay that way. And for that reason, a lot of banks like it. It also turned the transactions done in 3 days. So banks, when they have to especially deal in foreign exchange, for example, many years ago, a friend of ours, when we were doing the Midnight Herald, sent us something like $400 in Australian dollars. And my sister hands it to me and says, Tom, what are we going to do with this? And I said, well, I'm going to have to go down to the bank, and we got to get this money changed. And so I took it down there, and they said, well, we'll take it over to our international department, and you'll see it in your account when we get it exchanged. It took 4 weeks.
Wow.
And I wasn't happy about it. Sis wasn't happy about it. And, but that was what we had. Today, I would take that $400, turn it into Ripple, and take that Australian dollar, turn it into Ripple, and then use Ripple to get my cash. And I do it in 3 days.
Now,
and you can do that with Bitcoin. You can do that with Ethereum. They really don't care about the cash, what kind of national currency you have. They will move it into a cryptocurrency and pay their obligation.
I'm working on a Mega Man issue for the magazine. And there's a lady from Russia who does some of the artwork. Now, the question is, how am I going to pay her for the work she's doing? She charged me $20 to do a cover for the magazine. Well, Western Union requires me to go down there and send the money and pay a fee. It could be equal to what I'm sending. I can't very well mail it to her. What am I going to do? Write a check and take weeks to get there? So enter the world of cryptocurrency. I told her, I said, go over and download Coinomi app. It's Coinomi, so digital wallet. Coinomi, which is available for Androids. I don't think it's available yet for Apple. And so she did that, and I said, what I want you to do is, once you download the app, you can add the different coins you want to carry in there. Add the one for Bitcoin Gold. Okay, so here on my phone, I had a little Bitcoin Gold. And so what I did is I determined what $20 is in Bitcoin Gold, and then I turn around and transfer it from my phone in Indonesia to her in Russia, and it gets here in just a few minutes, and she's been paid the equivalent of $20. That's one of the advantages of cryptocurrency. You can send money on the fly. I didn't have to ask anybody's permission. I didn't have to wait for Monday through Friday banking hours. I didn't have to go to Western Union and pay their surcharge. I simply sent it from phone to her phone, and then she can cash it out at that end by taking it to an exchange, online, wherever. And that's the beauty of crypto. Let's say you got a family member, lives in Mexico. You're working in America, or maybe they're in Guatemala and you're in America, and you want to send some money back home. Send some money back home to your family in Colombia. We've done these things over the years. I know people have. What do? Western Union, you got to pay that fee. You got to stand in the line. And then the problem is when you send it over there, they have a different exchange rate. And they're going to make money when you send it, when they collect it. So what do? What you do is you get them to download the wallet, you send money. That's the only way to get money to people in Venezuela right now, except on the black market, pretty much. And that's how people are surviving. They're using cryptocurrency because it takes the banks and centralized controllers out of the equation, governments, banks out of the equation, and you deal one-on-one with the person that you want to transact business with. That's the theory behind it, why people are embracing it. Now, that's one of the reasons people are moving to crypto. But the main reason, it just boils down to people see an opportunity to make some money on something. Buy low, sell high. And back to that subject, I really like some of these cheaper coins that you can get for under a nickel. What am I talking about? See a coin? Tron? Tron, 4 cents as we're talking right now. I could buy 100 Tron coins for $4, and it went as high as about 25, 30 cents in the last couple months. Now, there's no guarantee it's going back up there, but it's got the potential to yield me a 7-time investment if it got up to 30 cents and I bought it for 4. The caveat, though, is unlike Bitcoin, which they're only going to make 21 million, they say, with Tron, there is no cap. It's 65 billion and counting right now, like the Dogecoin, Doggy Coin, and some of these other coins. Some of them have fixed caps in the millions or billions, and some just keep adding to them as they need, like Ripple. I think that could go into infinity, couldn't it?
The way I understand it, I don't want to say for sure, because there's just way too many things that happen with this.
Yeah.
Here's one that I laugh at a lot is Dentacoin, which was supposed to be the way you could pay your dentist. And not only that, when you went to the dentist, you got a reward in Dentacoin. So far, it hasn't really worked out, and its total valuation is $604,000. But people are still trading it. It's selling for 0.08 of a cent right now. So, these don't necessarily work out the greatest. What a lot of people want to see is something where they're going to get some value going forward. And right now, that's not the way to do it. There's another one called Red Coin, and it's selling for 0.9 of a cent. But there are 28 billion red coins out there. If you want one that, say, does a little better, let's go up to a little bit to the top of the list. And I don't know, some people like NEM, New Economy Market. There's only 8 billion out there. It's selling for about 43 cents. And I understand they're supposed to be going to cap that at some point. And if they do cap it, it will increase the price. Your Tron there's 65 billion Tron out there. I don't know if they're going to cap that or not. It's down 10% today. And
there's an awful lot of Tron. What I like about it, though, is the guy who created, his name is Justin Sun. He worked for a time with Alibaba, which is one of the biggest exporters in the world out of China. And he worked with some other organizations, and he made like the Forbes list of the top 30 people under 30. Sadly, though, one of our listeners went to the Tron website. I need to let you all know about this. And on the Tron website, there was a business office address that was listed, and he went out there and knocked on the door. And they said, there's no Tron office here. Turns out they'd moved down to San Francisco. But they didn't do a good job of updating their website. Now, that's very unprofessional, and that would be a red flag.
Would be for me.
So, that's just the caveat. Now, if you look at the coin market cap, Tron is up there at number 15. And I think anything on that list, the top 25, is something definitely to look at. Now, it's at 4 cents. Will it go back up to 30 cents? I don't know. But what's interesting is you mentioned Cardano and Stellar. Cardano and Stellar are high up on that list. And I remember when those things were being offered for 3 pennies 2 months ago. They went as high as over $1, one of them, another one like 70 some odd cents. With the whole flailing of this crypto community, they're down right now today to about 33 cents a piece. For Cardano, Stellar's 36 at the time of this show. So it's dropped down, more than half, as Bitcoin is. Bitcoin was almost 20,000 for a coin. Now it's 10. I couldn't afford to buy Bitcoin, but I could afford to buy one of these coins for a nickel. And so, what would you rather have? A 0.00001 of a Bitcoin, or would you like to have 1,000 of one of these other little penny coins, for $50? That's a matter of choice, and you got to, weigh the risk there and reward. But what I like about this, going back to, you want to send money to someone, And you say, well, why don't you use PayPal? Well, PayPal's great. PayPal take their small fee. That's fair. But not everybody has PayPal. There's many countries they don't allow PayPal. Not everybody can get an account. Well,
there's what happened to a missionary friend of mine. I won't say where, but because he was in one of PayPal's unfavored countries, they took his money. If I want to send this man money, which I do once in a while, now I got to use cryptocurrencies to do it, or I can't get the money to him.
Because they seized his funds.
Paying you because they want to hit you with all these banking fees. He's frustrated, I'm frustrated. So suddenly now you got Bitcoin gold. I can send it from my wallet to his wallet. And by the way, there are a lot of wallet programs out there. My favorite is Exodus.
Oh.
Good biblical name. But you can a lot of people now take their money off the exchange. They put it in their own personal wallet. It's because we've had a few too many thefts. And so it's a little better to just keep it on your computer. Your computer's not going to be a target for hackers unless you have a lot of money and we don't know about.
True. You're going to have to protect your coin. You become a bank. You become the security guard that works for the bank. And you're also the processor. So you have to do the transaction, hold the coin, protect it. If you don't, and you lose it, there's no one you can go to, no authority, and say, hey, I lost my Bitcoin. Nope, you're crap out of luck for the most part. And believe me, hackers are looking to hack. And everybody's getting hacked out there at some level. So you're going to have to be very vigilant and make sure that you learn all about the security aspect of it and protect your coin, or you won't have any coin. You wake up and it'll have been hacked. Probably the safest.
That's why I would tell people, this is a little off subject, but if you have enough cryptocurrency, you're worrying about that, you need to look into setting up a honeypot.
Okay.
And a honeypot is a place that you can direct hackers to go. And believe me, when they get in there, they're going to find that other hackers have been there. And they've left all their little undesirable little programs. And they're going to find it a very unpleasant experience. So it's not a bad idea if you got that kind of money to look into a honeypot. There are ways to protect yourself. And this is just one of them.
As of the last show, we were talking about cold storage wallets, but since we've done the program, it's come to my attention that the Ledger Nano S, the other one's the Trezor, had some type of bug in the software. It had a back door, and some people were actually plugging that into their computer only to find that some of their coin wasn't there. So you got to get a patch for it. So the jury's still out, in my opinion, on what's the best method, whether it be Trezor or, the Ledger Nano. It may have been that a person ordered it, got it secondhand off of an eBay site or what looked like a reputable dealer. I think that may have been part of the story. Now it's coming back to me. If you're going to buy it off of Amazon, only buy from Amazon itself, because you don't know who these third parties are. There is a group out there that are selling these cold storage wallets, and they look like they're brand new in the box, but the fact is they had been already used and someone got the backup keys, and then you plug it in and you put all your coin on there, and then they restore their wallet with the backup keys, and now their coin is your coin. Wait a minute, your coin is their coin. That was the story there.
You better explain to people what a cold storage wallet is, because people don't realize. You can get stick drives now that they call cold storage wallets, and basically the theory is you can put your coins or your tokens into this cold storage wallet, then you can unplug this stick from your computer and you can put it in your safety deposit box at your bank or in your safe at home, or just basically keep it unhooked from your computer. And then when you want to use the money on that cold storage wallet, you can put it back in your computer, hook up to that wallet, do what you need to do, and then unplug. And it's becoming a very popular item. But I would suggest reputable dealers only. Don't get it off of some guy on eBay. It's too easy to set up a store on eBay. Find somebody that you can check out and see if they have a reputation.
Exactly. You don't want any used cold storage USB drive. You want to buy it only from a reputable source like the, Amazon itself, and it's got to be sealed in the box. And bottom line here is you got to do your due diligence. If you don't have them there, you can leave them on a digital wallet like we mentioned, a Coinomi. Those could still be hacked potentially, or you have it online on an exchange like Coinbase. You say, what are y'all talking about? How do I get some Bitcoin, gold, or any of these coins? Well, it starts with you got to put money into the system. So you set up an account with like Coinbase, and you can buy one of their coins online like Bitcoin or Ethereum or Litecoin or Bitcoin Cash. I think they have 4 over there now.
Yes.
By making,
so I keep telling stories that they're going to add more.
They will. And so you're going to buy one of those coins from your bank account. You buy it using your check Visa card or direct debit on your account. Now you've got X number of dollars in the coin of your choosing. So let's say you bought $100 of Bitcoin. It's sitting up there on an exchange. You can leave it there. Exchanges do get hacked, but that's probably the biggest in the world right there. And they claim that, they've got safeguards against that, but whatever. Once you have money on the Coinbase exchange, now you can transfer that Bitcoin you bought or the Litecoin or Ethereum to any other exchange in the world where you set up an account. And most of the other exchanges also deal in other coins. So now you can convert that Bitcoin you bought to buying some doggy coin or Bitcoin Gold or Ethereum or any one of thousands of coins. And now you're holding it on an exchange's wallet that you log into with the username and password. That's not the safest way to do it. You need to do that to be able to buy the coin, but then you want to get it off of there, ideally, into some better storage system, whether it be a phone wallet or better yet, a cold storage wallet where you plug in the USB drive when you need to move the coin, and when you're not, you unplug it from the world. That's in a nutshell what you're doing. You start with buying one of the main coins typically that you can trade dollars for coin or euros for the coin, the Bitcoin, and then you transfer it to an exchange where they've got the coin that you want to buy. So if you wanted to buy the Lisk coin, for example, Tom, you would need to buy that using probably Bitcoin.
Binance will do it. Okay. Lisk has got about 10 of them that you can buy from. And so it's not a big deal to find an exchange to buy, say, Lisk, which I still like. And now with the price set as it is, like I say, they blew their relaunch. But I still think they have a good product. I still think they have a really good product. And I'm going to be looking at their website some more. And the other thing, too, is you can buy a Lisk wallet. And you can use that. But I really don't think it's real practical to go download 15 wallets just to trade currencies. It's better to do it on an exchange and then pull your coin down locally to your phone or to your computer. I'm not so really inclined to do phones yet because there's some security issues involved with phones. On your computer, I'm behind 3 firewalls. If they get to me, it's going to have to be something really, really good. No, I've had my firewalls cracked before when we were doing Cyber Love's Illusions. One of the ladies that we interviewed for the book told her scammer about our book, which we had told her not to do, that we wanted to hit him with surprise. Well, guess what? That scammer calls up his Islamic buddies, and within a week, we're getting a military-grade hack on our systems. Thankfully, we put the book away into a part of the system they couldn't get to. But I ended up with 2 dead motherboards and a trip to Houston, Texas from Dallas, where I lived at the time, because the FBI wanted to take a look at this hack. And it's not pleasing. But one of the questions I asked them is, what do I do about security? And he said, layered security. Don't rely on one. That's how they got to you.
What that translates to most people tuning in out there is more than just a username and a password. You want to have a 2-step authentication process where the next thing you need to do is it sends a PIN code to your phone. And from there, you got to enter in the 6-digit ID using something like a Google Authenticator app, or they text your phone. And they may have hacked your password, but unless they've got your phone, or do they go to the trouble to call the phone company, which they can do sometimes, they really want you, and have the number rerouted, then they're probably not going to get in. So, like, for example, my email system, Proton Mail, which I recommend for anybody who wants secure encrypted email. I got a 2-step authenticator on there. So even if someone stole my password, they're not getting in unless they got my phone, because the next step I got to do after putting in the username and password is go to my phone, and I get that Google Authenticator app up, and it gives me a random 6-digit sequence of numbers that I must enter in off of my phone into Proton Mail, and then I get access. So you want to step up your security, because passwords are not enough anymore. And of course, your situation is a lot more different. You're talking about the physical computer, that they access. But look, hackers are real folks. Let me tell you how much is at stake here. North Korea has a whole squad, Tom, which is hacking people's computers worldwide and using them to mine Bitcoin. There's a Starbucks that was hacked into, and you go in and use their free Wi-Fi? Well, you got a friend that you didn't ask for now using your computer, using your phone or your computer to mine Bitcoin. And Starbucks was caught. They said, it's the fault of our internet provider. We'll deal with it. But
right,
there are websites people are going to, and while you're on the website is using your computer to mine Bitcoin or other crypto. Everybody wants a piece, and they have no problem using your hardware to do it, because that's how you mine coins. Someone's computer has got to be processing the algorithms to confirm the transactions, which in turn create the coin on the networks. Simplified. So people want to use your hardware resources to mine coin. They want to steal your hard-earned coin. The Russian government just arrested some people that had access to, like, their supercomputers that they use at one of their military complexes. Way beyond the cray, whatever they were using them to mine Bitcoin.
Well, the biggest one here in the States was Tesla Motors got hacked.
Really?
And somebody was using their computers, some of the most sophisticated in the world, to mine Bitcoin and put it in their pocket. I guarantee you, Elon Musk is going to get to the bottom of this and get his money. But until that time, I couldn't believe that a big company like that, and I mean, they got to spend a lot of money on security, and they got hacked.
Well, there's a lot at stake here.
Excuse me?
There's a lot at stake here. There's a lot of money to be made. There's a lot of crooks out there that want to promise you a lot of money, like with the BitConnect scandal. Folks, don't get involved in any of these programs that claim to be crypto coin investments and guarantee you a certain return of interest per day or per month. Those are all red flags for scams. If you want to mine the coin or buy it outright and just hodl, which means holding on to it until it goes up and then you sell, that's one thing. That's a legitimate way to get involved, but there are groups that say, send me $100 of Bitcoin and we guarantee we're going to pay you 10% interest a day. Well, they give you back a little bit of your money at a time until they implode and you realize, man, I didn't even get my money back. What happened? Because they ran off with $1 billion of everybody's money that was thrown into the pot. It's like a Bernie Madoff scam. And they hit the road. There's some guys they're hunting down right now that the federal court has put out a subpoena for and frozen their accounts. And I hope they get caught. But that sullies the whole industry. But let me ask you something. Bigger issue today is, what the heck is going on with crypto? Because it's been going down and been in the gutter for like 2 months. This has been like the doldrums. You're selling at sea, but there's no wind to push your sails. Or this is like living up in Seattle where it rains. And it's depressing. It's been raining nonstop for like 2 months. What's up?
Well, as I said, the biggest thing we're finding is all the cryptocurrency people want to create their own little island. And they think that's where the world is their little island. They don't understand that beyond the waters are other islands called stock markets, called government currencies, called bonds. And all of these factors affect Bitcoin. That's why we have to watch them all. And that's becoming a monumental task for me. And watching these things, and I'm seeing already, looking at the markets, that I'm probably going to have to redo these sheets before I go to bed tonight.
Brother, my brother,
because I'm seeing quite a bit of change already. And by the way, if you want to get in on the cryptocurrency report, at least for a limited time, at least till we get to where we're going to do it on YouTube.
Yes.
Just send me an email at tom@thecryptocurrencyreport.co for Colorado. And I will put you on the list, and when I send out a report, you will get it. And right now, the advice is free. I should explain, I have an MBA. I've studied statistics for a lot of years, more years than I care to imagine. I've studied stock markets for a long, long time, as has my family. We know how these markets move and what forces them to move one way or another. And hopefully we'll have a website up soon. I'm still working on it. As a lot of people know, I do my own websites. I design my own websites. I don't have a designer. And really, I don't want a designer because I like to control my content a little more. And
where do they write to get a copy of the cryptocurrency report?
Okay, as we said before, Tom, T-O-M, at thecryptocurrencyreport.co. And if you just send me an email, give me your name, give me your email address. I don't need any more information than that. And I will send that to you.
Now that's
what I do know is it seems that the cryptocurrency report seems to be affecting this market. I can't believe, just with the few I send out, that I'm getting that kind of a response, but from what I've understood, a lot of people have been sending these around. And they're wandering on to exchanges where other people look at them.
Wow. I really haven't seen this level of detail elsewhere. Now, it's thecryptocurrencyreport.co.
Yes.
Tom at
Yes.
thecryptocurrencyreport.co. Folks, you can get a free
Right.
copy of this. Tom is sitting, studies the market. He takes all the news in, runs his numbers, and he lists for you that some of the top cryptocurrencies, shows you their changes from each report to the next, or each. How do you track that?
Well, I do that about once a day,
Once a day.
but I run them. I run them 2 or 3 times a day, and sometimes, if I see a major change in a day, I may send out a second report. And I have done that when I've seen things like when I saw the Japanese market and the Asian markets crashing and cryptocurrencies going up. I did a report on that because I wanted to see other people get in because it was a good entry point. Then on the 17th of this month, that's when I saw things starting to get a little high. And some of the cryptocurrencies got a little bit too high. And they do what is called in the business overheating. It's like you run an old car with water in its radiator. If you run that car too long, the water evaporates. And then suddenly your engine collapses.
And you know, this market has been collapsing for about 2 months. You know, it wasn't long ago Bitcoin was pushing the ceiling. You're going to hit $20,000 a coin. I've got a brother out on the West Coast, my brother Mr. Cam, and I told him about crypto back when John McAfee said, hey, crypto's going up. It was like $2,800 a coin. My brother was very skeptical, and that's okay to be skeptical. But I said, you know, hey, Cameron, look at this. This here to stay, man. I believe that John McAfee knows what he's talking about. And he brought my attention to it. And so he, like others, began to buy into it. They bought in at various levels. And my brother was sinking basically all of his savings into it, which I don't recommend doing. But he believed it was going to be a sure thing. And he bought it, and it started to go up and started to increase. And he was making money on it and kept buying as it's going up. Or maybe you get the deal. You buy it when it on the drop. Either way, he was like many. I mean, they're about ready to quit their jobs and become a full-time broker. Thinking, man, I can retire. I got a couple coins now. You know, this thing's doing 100,000 a coin or $1 million a coin, as some predict. But then all hell broke loose. And it began to drop. And it began to drop. And if you bought in at Bitcoin when it was 18,500, and you can't sell it until at least you get it back up to where it was, and it begins to drop, and you're waiting for it to go back up, and it doesn't, and you're down at 10,000 a day. He was so depressed, I couldn't even get my brother to answer his text for like a month. I text Cameron, are you alive over there? Dude, just huddle. Wait, don't stress out. I had to call my sister. Is Cameron alive, Brianna? What's he doing? He's in withdrawals. He's on his PlayStation 360, trying to get his brain off of crypto. Many people got depressed. I hope some people didn't commit suicide out there. I'm not joking, because there's some people that were going all in on this, and if it goes down and you panic and you sell, now you're really screwed. Because a lot of people knee-jerk as it begins to drop. Then they sell, and you're going to definitely lose if you sell at less than you bought it for. We say this to say it's very volatile. We've said that many times before. It's like the wild, wild west. On top of that, there's also the predators that are looking to take your hard-earned Bitcoin and rape you of them. Literally, they can get a hold of them. They will rape them, steal them, hack them. Other groups want to tax them. Other groups want to confiscate them, because in the last 2 months, there's been so much news, it's kind of hard to keep up. I mean, you know, what do you remember has happened so far regarding India and Korea?
Well, India sort of backed off. There's too many people that say, well, remind them that the Indian rupee was not very stable. You're asking us to keep our money in rupees? When we don't know what that's going to do, So they had to back off a little bit. South Korea, they're vacillating, but they're starting to realize this is a huge market. And if they're not in it, they lose.
When you say back off, you're talking about some of these governments that we mentioned begin to announce we're going to ban crypto coin exchanges. We're going to ban our citizens from engaging and buying in crypto. There's threats, rumors. China is one of the biggest ones now. They have followed through, and they are systematically shutting down mining companies across the country. And I think that they banned exchanges and they banned people from buying. I don't know. It's getting pretty severe over there.
What's happened to most of that? When the Chinese government banned it, they all went to Hong Kong, which is still sort of a free city.
Okay.
And they just set up shop there. And from there, they're spreading throughout Asia. If one currency or one government says no, they'll go to another. We're in a world economy now. If one government says no, there's plenty of governments that'll say yes.
That's the reality of it, but there's a new term that was invented since cryptocurrency arose. It's called FUD. Or we could call it fear news. Y'all know what that means. FUD is fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And as the rumor mills begin to generate, and some stuff's true news, some stuff's fake news or FUD, what happens is people begin to panic, and in real time, you can feel the impacts on the market, can't you, Tom?
Yes, you do. But, the other thing, too, is just when the cryptocurrencies were having their troubles, suddenly so did the stock markets of Europe and Asia and finally the United States. And suddenly the banks and the politicians had to shut up because they realized that nothing is safe. Your dollar is still a Federal Reserve note, and it only survives on the trust you put into it. There's no gold behind that dollar. There's nothing behind that dollar. That's true of every government currency.
So,
and when that happens, you got to realize that it's a free-for-all, and that you're going to have to figure out where you can best keep your resources. And this is going to become more important as we move along and as we start to realize that times are uncertain, that you just can't trust your government currency. You're going to have to always have a backup, and cryptocurrencies is part of that backup.
The systems can collapse at any time. We've seen that happen in Argentina, Venezuela, Zimbabwe, Greece, India. They recalled all the currency. They could, for all we know, we could have been there the day that, like today, they would say, in 4 hours, all billion Indians holding Indian rupees will be holding worthless notes because we're canceling the currency, and you must now go to the bank, stand in line, and exchange them. In 4 hours, then, you can't even do anything with the money. It's illegal to transact business in it. So people run to the banks and they get in the line, find out when they got to the front of the line there's no money to exchange it for. And for days people went without service, couldn't buy or sell because they couldn't use these the old notes that were now bogus. I mean, that's crazy. That was an experiment. And so what are you going to do?
I still remember back in the late 70s and early 80s. And I guess they're still in a warehouse somewhere.
What happened?
And they, right here in the United States, they were talking about issuing new currency. And yes, you'd get to go wait in the line.
And the Indians,
boy, oh boy.
The Indians got to the front of the line and realized someone had already beat them there to it. That worked for the bank. And now they had to wait for the banks to get more currency. before they could exchange the notes. People are pissed about this. They're tired of being told, hey, the money that is in your bank account is now worth half of what it was last night. And by the way, we put a ration on it. You can only take out $200.
Well, there's rations in the United States. You can only take out so much money out of your ATM in this given day. I think there's something like $500 is all you can get out of your ATM in a day in most banks. If you want more than that, you got to walk in there, and they may still limit it. You're going to have to write a check so they can track it.
Dude, 10 years ago, I had some silver, some junk silver that I'd bought from Steve Quayle. When I say junk, that's a term for it. It's just, various used coins. Those were the Ben Franklin $50. And they had a high percentage of silver, so they give you a big bag of these, and it's basically valued by the weight. So I had like $10,000 of junk silver, and I wanted to get it into gold. But first I needed to sell it. So I found a local metals guy there in Gainesville, Georgia. And I said, hey, Glenn, name was Glenn, I want to sell this silver. He said, okay, I'll convert it for you. So he weighed it, took the current silver price, gave me the offer. I said, let's do it. And he wrote me a check. I then tried to go down to Regions Bank of Atlanta, over there in Gainesville, walked in. It was a big bank. There wasn't many people in there. I went right up to the counter. Didn't have to wait. Said, yes. Here's a Regions Bank check. Here's my ID. I'd like to cash it. And the lady looked at me. I looked at her. Yep. What's up? I don't think we have this amount of money. It was like $10,000. Excuse me? This does say Regions Bank, doesn't it? Well, yes, it does. But we don't keep that kind of money on hand. And I'm like, you don't keep $10,000 in cash on hand? What's up with that? Well, it's probably pretty much the case with many banks. They have to order their money. And they get the money, they take it, and they send it over to the Federal Reserve Bank, their regional bank. And they order what they need. So I hemmed and hawed. I was angry. I mean, I'm sitting down with a piece of paper with a signature on it. It's worth nothing if I can't get the money out of it. Finally, they went and got a supervisor, and they went back and checked, and they were able to fill it, but they gave me a hard time. And that put up a red flag in my mind. If they can't handle $10,000, is it true what I'm hearing? That the banks actually have no money? There could be a banking holiday and you go there and the ATM shut down. People are tired of this crap. They're tired of being told that they can't get a bank account because they don't have the credit for it. There's billions of people worldwide who cannot get a bank account if they wanted to, who cannot get a PayPal account, for example, who are stuck then with Western Union and the high fees that they charge. And on top of that, you might get banned from Western Union. Happened to me. The point I'm making here is, what do you do then? And what do you do if the government does a banking holiday or a currency recall? Or they devaluate the currency, and the guy named Anton Antonopoulos, who's one of the smartest guys on crypto I know. In fact, he's been one of the leading proponents for it. And people said, well, you must be a Bitcoin millionaire. And he said, well, sadly, I've been in it since the beginning, but, I had to make ends meet. And I would sell my Bitcoin to pay my bills. So sadly, I don't have any right now. And one of the guys out there, Roger Veres, criticized him on Twitter and basically called him a loser. He should have bought Bitcoin back then. And Roger said, look, I did have Bitcoin, but I had to pay my bills. I just don't have any. And so one of the other guys picked up the tweet and did a fundraiser. And the next thing you know, in about 48 hours, the guy received 100 Bitcoin. Pushed him over the millionaire bracket. I think that was a good gesture, what they did for Anton. But you know what, Anton, I learned a lot from, and case in point, his mother lives in Greece. He's from Greece. And he said, my mother was over there, like many, worked her whole life, receiving her retirement pay, and it's going into the Greek banks, and the Greek banks were confiscating money to pay their own debts. I think the IMF had told them to confiscate the money to pay your bills.
Actually, it wasn't the IMF. It was the EU,
Or the EU?
which they're a part of.
Okay, so there's a law in the books in America right now which says if a bank looks like it's going to become insolvent, meaning it can't pay its bills, that it has rights under law to seize the account holder's deposits. And you basically have donated
$2,500. Over $2,500.
Over $2,500. So now you're contributing to pay off the bank's debt, and you're crap out of luck. They got your money. Nothing you can do about it. He saw this was happening to his mother's retirement, and it was becoming worth less and less every day, and she wasn't going to be able to pay her bills anymore. So he said, Mom, get your money, put it into Bitcoin. And she fought him at first, but then she relented, and she says, God bless my son. He saved my retirement because it's been worth nothing in the Greek banks, and she's actually made money on it, putting it into Bitcoin. So it's a way to preserve wealth. It's a way to move things around. It's a way to operate when you can't operate any other way. Back to you.
Okay, one of the things I'm looking here, we're on the time, and I want to play some of Marcia's music.
Let's do it. We're going to take a break.
Yeah,
Come
let's
back.
take about 8 minutes.
We'll play 2 songs for you, and then I'll come back and throw the mic to Major Tom and let him roll.
Major Tom.
Excuse me. Professor Tom. Thank God your name isn't Peter, because I would have to remember which Peter you are. I know 5 Peters. Peter Whiffen,
Oh, dear.
Peter Johnson, Peter Townsend, Peter Torres. 2 great songs by Whiteheart. We want to thank Sister Marcia for picking those out. Everybody, welcome. We're live with Professor Tom Mack. He's talking about his cryptocurrency report. And Tom, before you continue, I want to just share a quick story. A few weeks ago, a friend of mine in Israel said, hey, I keep getting these reports, and you've been telling me about this crypto for months, and he didn't take it seriously, but then this other source began to send him these reports, like an investor magazine, and said, you should look at crypto. Finally, he became a believer, and he said to me, Shannon, what coin do you think I should get into? And I said, well, number one, let me tell you, there's no guarantees here. I'm not a financial expert, and it would just be an educated guess. But I said, if it were me, he said, I've got $1,000 to put into it. I said, well, you could put it in the king of the coins, Bitcoin. I think if anything is going to be the last man standing, I believe personally Bitcoin. Or I said, you may want to take it and put it on something like Tron, where for that same $1,000 you could buy, a good chunk of coins. Just a matter of what you want to do. I didn't hear any more back from him. And then recently, I got an email from him, and he says, I want to thank you for your advice. He said, we were able to get $1,000 together, and we decided to go up on Bitcoin, and we bought in at like $6,500. And when he wrote me back, I think Bitcoin, it was up around 12,000 the other day. So that's an example of where he put in $1,000, it doubled in value. He got his investment back, doubled it. That can happen, and more. Or it could have done nothing. Now, since he sent me that email, it's dropped down to $10,000 a coin. He's still up by, up over what he invested into it. So that's what some people are looking for, opportunities, trying to figure out where do I buy into crypto coin. Now, Bitcoin is too rich for my blood. I don't have $10,000 to go buy a coin. But maybe you could put $100 into it, or whatever you can afford. You could have a fraction of it. That's certainly one strategy. Another strategy is look down these charts and look at one that's, had a pretty good track record of staying up there, in my opinion, the top 20, top 25 out of 2,000. I think that's one that owes a serious look. And I like the ones like Tron, Cardano, Ripple. Those are, all under $1. But someone might take a different strategy altogether. That Bitcoin gold I talked to you about earlier. In its prime, it was up almost $400. Today, it's dropped down like all these other coins, and it's sitting at number 19 on the coin market cap. It's at $120. But a few weeks ago, it was double that. I bet you could buy a coin today, hold it, and it's easily going to double and go up in value. Now, that's my guess. But, folks, everybody's trying to guess what's going on, and sometimes you scratch your head time and say, is there any method to this madness? What's going on? Back to you.
Well, I think there's a lot of method if you want to study it and do the work, or you want to get the cryptocurrency report and listen to my specific advice. The best time to get into your Bitcoin gold was February 1st, when it was at a low point of $131.51. Actually, February 2nd, it went down a little more. Finally, about February 7th, it got down to $89.40.
Wow.
All those times were good entry points to get into it. Because what did it do? By the 17th, it was up to 142. But then I started looking at the signals, and it was getting too high. It went too fast. And by the 16th of February, it was at 139.75. Well, a prudent investor looks at the fact that it's selling almost 2 standard deviations over its 8-day moving average, about 1 2/3 over its 13-day moving average. And a lot of people say that's time to leave. Get out of it for a while. Now it's back down to 120. It's selling at about, what would you say, about 1.19 below its moving average, which starts to tell me this is time to buy. This is time to get back into it and to start looking at it. When I was looking at Bitcoin, you go back here, the 7th of December, wasn't quite the highest point, but that was its strongest point. It had a composite signal of 49. I have never seen that in a stock in all the years I've run this thing. I've never seen a 49 composite on any stock. One exception, I'll take that back. One exception, and that was a drug stock, because they got a very unexpected approval from the FDA. Their stock went from 20 to 80 in one day. But you can't count on that. You can't count on that. So when you start seeing these high points, don't be the hog. You take your profits, especially when it goes up $3,100 in a day. That's just a little bit too much, and I start seeing that as a time to leave. Yes, I might have missed the $3,000 to the top, but the hogs get slaughtered. The hogs get slaughtered. And so with Bitcoin, you have to realize you're at a top. I'd probably seen that top long before it hit 16, but that was when I started seeing it. And, now I saw an entry point, February 5th, I'm sorry. It was at $6,937.08. Suddenly 4 of my little markers went off. This is time to buy. What happened the very next day? It went up $700. And it got up to $11,000 when suddenly the sell signals came. And that was the time to get out of Bitcoin, because you're not going to see this kind of monumental jump again.
So if you had 1 unit of Bitcoin, it went up $700. If you'd have sold it, you'd have made $700 profit more or less on that one coin, right? Now, if you only own a fraction of a Bitcoin, then you're not going to make that full $700. It'll be a fraction. That's why some people prefer.
That's why you multiply the fraction you have times the price. So if you own a third of a Bitcoin and you make $100, you made $33. But that's still 33% return on investment for a few days.
That's one school of thought. The other school of thought is you buy the cheaper coins and you buy whole numbers. So you don't buy a fraction of it, but let's say you have, 10 Litecoin. And it can go up $20 in a day. So if you
returns are returns. Doesn't matter whether you buy the little ones or the big ones. It's what am I going to get for return? And let's talk about Litecoin. I saw down markers on February 2nd. Rather serious one. $131. It sort of stayed there. In fact, it went down to 125 on the 5th. But these down markers told me this is a time to get in. This is a time to make your money. And sure enough, you got to February 14th. Valentine's Day was a very nice day for Litecoin. It went up $52 in one day and sold for $212. Yes, it went up a little higher, got up to 229. But I would tell you something, you're best to take your profit and run when you get it. That's what burnt most of these Bitcoin investors, is they got greedy. You take your profits and run. Don't be trying to be the hog and get it all, because the hogs get slaughtered. One of the things I admire most about Asian investors is they're the most disciplined investors on the planet. I've watched these guys. They make their moves almost on precision. When certain conditions hit, there they are. And they make their move, and they go from place to place to place, calculating every move out. And sadly, most Americans, they don't have the kind of discipline. And discipline is important in investing. You have to be very disciplined. And Litecoin, it had its day. In fact, its best day, it was up at 18.99. It was selling on the 987-day moving average, which is a pretty long one. It was selling over 3 standard deviations above its moving average. When you start seeing that kind of high, that's when you pack up and leave. Because when you get in 3 standard deviations, that is saying it's above 99% of its other entries. There are probably 985 days it was lower than what you're seeing it on that day. So when that happens, that's the time you take your profits. Look for something else. And if you don't find something, wait. Opportunities present themselves all the time.
Okay, but let me put it like this. Okay, if you could buy one Bitcoin today, and let's say someone said, hey, I've got $10,000 to spend. I want to buy me a full Bitcoin. So you could go out and buy one Bitcoin, 10 grand. Or you were to take that 10,000 and you buy Tron that's at 4 cents, and that 10,000 would buy you 250,000 Tron. Now, you got one person's got 250,000 Tron, the other put their money on one Bitcoin. In order for you to double your money on Bitcoin, that money would have to go from 10,000 a coin to 20,000. Now, to double your money on Tron, it would only have to go from 4 cents to 8 cents. And so if it went to 8 cents...
That's a pretty major that would be a pretty major move in Tron. And you would see that thing going flying right to the top of my cryptocurrency report because of the percentage move it would be.
Yep.
And Tron has only been there one time, and that was when it was a bubble.
Well,
and I don't count on bubbles.
You look at the history, and it went as high as 30 cents. So is it possible from going from 4 cents to 30 cents? Now, I only doubled it and said if it went to 8 cents. If it went to 30 cents, good grief. Now, look at Cardano and Stellar, though. Those were available a few months ago at 3 cents apiece. Then I saw them at 10 cents. One of them hit over $1, and the other was 70 cents. They've dropped back down. But now that was like a, one of those was a 10x jump. The other, 20x. Some of these have the capacity to potentially do that. I say potentially. There's no guarantee. But, and using that example, what's more likely, a 4 to 8 cent jump or a 10 to 20,000 jump? I think you got a better chance of that 4 to 8 cents than 10 to 20. And because of the sheer volume that you had, 250,000 of these coins, you know, you could stand to make a lot of money if you buy the right coin and get it while it's still cheap. If you pick the right one that actually goes up and hits $1. I mean, I don't think it's anything far-fetched to think that Tron's going to hit $1. If Cardano and Stellar could do it, you know.
Well, you have to remember, when did this happen? It happened in December when there was an incredible bubble and everybody was buying and there was nobody selling for the most part. And there was so much enthusiasm into it at that point in time. Prices went through the roof. And suddenly you had stellar lumens at some of the major numbers that there were. But what happens? It's going to go back down. What goes up must come down. And there's been plenty of times. But you have to wait for your moments. And the other thing, too, is don't put your eggs in one basket. That's one of the reasons I would caution people to think twice about a Bitcoin investment. Save that for the big boys. They can buy 10,000 Bitcoin. And it isn't going to hurt their budget. It's probably going to hurt yours. My suggestion, look for several that have potential. Look at their websites. Look at their white papers. Also, you know, it's interesting. You can also find a lot of YouTube videos. I saw one on Neblio the other day. This guy said it was going to go through the moon. And he predicted by this summer it would be $20, $30. Well, I hate to say it, but I sort of mocked that a little bit and said I really don't think it's going to quite do that. Well, he said that on Valentine's Day. And it was selling for $18 a coin. Now it's down to $13.
Wow. Here's a question from the chat room. You finish first. Go ahead.
But what you have to understand, when I started analyzing what he said about it, he said this company is going to market blockchain to large companies. Massive, large companies. And I started saying to myself, doesn't this sound like the field of dreams? If you build it, they will come. You know, I grew up 40 miles from Dyersville, Iowa, where the field of dreams is, and still is to this day. So I started getting a little skeptical. Just because you send a bunch of guys out with briefcases to sell doesn't mean you're going to get these enterprise guys to buy. These enterprise guys have heard everything. Believe me, they've heard everything. And you have to have a really, really, really good product to get them even the least bit interested. And even if you do, they're going to want to put it one place, make it work there, and then they're going to do it in a region. And it's not going to generate you the kind of revenue that's going to make your coin jump. So I saw this and I started realizing this guy is selling blue sky. And since that time, I've listened to dozens of videos, all promoting their product. And very rarely did I find any of them with a lot of substance. I still will listen to the videos because you want to see what they have to say. And also I do look at, like I told you when we started, we talked about Lisk and talking about its product relaunch. I don't know why they called it a relaunch. Was it like they blew it the first time, and so they got to try to tell it again? And now because they really didn't get it conveyed to people, they're going to have to do it again. And so we're going to have a relaunch 3.
Maybe they got a different team.
2 and maybe a relaunch 3. But I'm still going to listen to them. And, maybe they do have a good product. And I think somewhere along the line, they're going to start learning how to convey what their product can do in better ways. And there are plenty of good marketing people out there that they could get that would help them do that. And because I've known guys who could sell refrigerators to Eskimos.
Tom, there's so many coins and tokens out there. Not every crypto is a coin. Some have their own chains or they're on the blockchain, as my understanding is. And if you're a token, you're coming off of Ethereum chain. Is that right? ERC20?
Yes.
So if you hear the term token, it's tied into Ethereum, correct? Most of the time?
Yes. Yes, and I would say that isn't a terrible thing. In fact, sometimes I think Ethereum is superior to Bitcoin in a lot of ways. And I've even seen projections that suggest that by the end of this year, Ethereum would be worth more than Bitcoin. I don't know that I'd buy it, but I'm seeing those projections, and when I start seeing it, it makes me wonder, why are these people putting their credibility on the line? And when it comes to cryptocurrencies, a lot of people are putting their credibility on the line every time they do a YouTube video. And they just keep doing them. And
I'm not going to lie to you. I got bored with it. I was watching it every day, trying to get a hot scoop on the next big one. And when this thing went into the doldrums, I guess for maybe the last two months, it's like flatlined almost. It's like not doing much at all. Or you think it's about ready to go up, and then your hopes are dashed, and it's all in the red again. I tell you, I'll be honest with you, I stopped watching the feed out there. I was watching them all, the big guys. And, they may come up with a new name. I'm kind of tired of it from the standpoint of there's so many thousands of coins and tokens now, and each one claims to be something different. How can you have 2,000 different uses for a coin? Most of them don't have anything different. They're just a copy of a copy of a copy. And really, it's just a matter of personal preference or the amount of hype they can get behind it. Maybe some have a better team than others. Some will follow through, maybe 5%, I'm thinking. The rest never carry out what they promised to do. And it's almost like a crapshoot. One thing you said, which I agree, is that it's best to have a basket of crypto. One man said, I'm not smart enough to pick the winner, so I'm just going to invest in a basket of them. Now I spread my chances of winning over more than one racehorse. Now I got 7 racehorses. By the way, a Jewish man told me that one time. He said, he says, don't have one racehorse, have 7. And I got to thinking, hey, that's actually smart. I have a logo. It says 7 Racehorse Productions, in case someone wants to take that idea. I think, but 7 racehorses. Hey, that's smarter. You got 7 times the chances rather than just put them all in one racehorse. But I'm almost getting bored because it's been in the doldrums for 2 months now. You're not going to win if you get bored and you drop out. Many people have already punched out. They're gone, or when it started to drop, they panicked and they sold, they lost, and they got burned. What do you think about this old adage, just hodl? Does that still hold true?
Well,
how long do we need to hodl?
Well, I would say one thing. If you're hodling, you've probably picked the wrong ones, and you need to find the right ones.
Okay.
And that's the thing with the Bitcoin. If you got 10 grand tied up in one Bitcoin, I would say pull it out and get several and start working the market. Bitcoin's not the only game in town, and I start to wonder sometimes, yes, they're supposed to stop at 21 million coins, but eventually they've got to come up with some kind of a product. And all these other coins are forks off of either Bitcoin or Ethereum. And what you need to do is start looking for things that they do that makes them better. What makes your mousetrap better? And so I start looking, what do these guys do with the money? What are they doing?
Yeah, 100
What's
million.
making their Bitcoin better? And suddenly, as I said at the start of the report, I put out a report last night, and guess what? The whole thing pretty much tanked.
Wow.
But the only ones that didn't tank were 2 that I mentioned the day before. I mentioned Nano, because I sort of like their concept. I like how they're spreading their blockchain. And it was going up, and it continued to go up when everybody else went down. That tells me something. That tells me somebody thinks they have the right idea. The other one that I mentioned that went up when everybody else went down was Eternity, and I'm looking at it here. And it's only been around since May 29th of last year. It hasn't even been around a year yet. But it seems to have a little bit going for it. That's sort of one of my favorites right now. And when it comes to Bitcoin, I almost find Bitcoin Gold to having more potential than any of them.
Bitcoin Gold, I see no problem in it doubling. It's like $130 today. I mean, $200 is not the high for Bitcoin Gold. I've seen as high as, high 300s to 400. I think you could easily double. I think this Bitcoin Private is one to watch too. Now, I had mentioned one a long time back called Bitcoin Z. And if you had actually bought into it, you could have doubled your money or even done better. Sadly, though, they were not able to get it off the ground and get onto any big exchanges. Now, you could have a great concept, but part of the formula for success, you want to get on one of the big boy exchanges out there. Coinbase is, of course, where everybody wants to be, but you get on there, you're going to be a winner. But Binance is huge. Bittrex, Poloniex, Kraken is one out there. It's still used by a lot of people. Cryptopia. You want to get on one of these big guys. Binance is like one of the most popular, and that's really a great one. But many people were trying to get on, and they weren't taking any new members a few weeks ago. You just had to keep trying. But you can have a great coin like Bitcoin Z, to my point, and you're on like 2 exchanges. And, the problem with that is you're not going to be able to get top dollar for it. You got a greater risk of the exchange collapsing if it's frequented by less people. But if you can just manage to get on multiple exchanges, like get on the Binance, Bittrex, Poloniex, Cryptopia, for example, now you could have a potential winner. We got a question from the chat room I want to throw over to you. Here's a question for you, Tom. Brother German says, Brother Tom, do you consider that cryptocurrency is now within a speculative bubble?
Not now. The bubble's over. The bubble is over at the end of January.
The bubble popped?
Yes. That's why Bitcoin went down to 6,000. The bubble popped. Now it's got to earn its way.
Folks, the zit got popped and the cheese squirted out. I just said that to see if there's anybody awake out there.
But,
folks, they popped it. They popped it. That's a good news.
Yeah.
Right? It's oozed out.
Yes, it is.
It can only go up, right? Or do you think it would go all the way down to $100 a Bitcoin and we'll be trading pizzas?
I rather doubt that. Because there is some kind of value there, and people use it. It's still the number one used coin. If you want to buy stuff, even Amazon is now getting pressured to accept Bitcoins. You know, Jeff Bezos put his little article in the Washington Post, which he owns, trashing cryptocurrencies. But he found out rather quickly that it hurt his readership.
You know, hey, folks, it's not the first time Bitcoin is bubbled and popped. I've heard as many as 4 or 5 times already.
Yes.
But look at where it's at, where it went from $1 and it's beginning to its 10,000. Look, even if it's only 10,000 and it was 2,800 6 months ago, it's still up 4x. Come on.
Yes.
And many of the experts say we haven't seen nothing yet with Bitcoin. Once it begins to take off, whatever causes people the urgency to get involved, it could see 100,000 easily this year. It could go up to at some point. Look, McAfee says
I don't see it as high as John McAfee does. I respect John McAfee. I remember going by his office in Carrollton, Texas.
Really?
Every day for a couple of years.
McAfee says if it doesn't hit $500,000 to $1 million, he will become a eunuch, and he'll be a self-made eunuch. I don't want to go any more detail than that, but he's at. Is that what we call bullish or bearish? I'm still learning.
I think he's bullish, quite bullish.
And beware the wolves.
Yeah, but you know, some of them, you know, where I start to find some value these days are in some of the, what I call mid prices, things that are $20, $30, $40, that you're not having to blow a lot of money to get into it.
Well, that would be a Litecoin.
It isn't like stocks. It isn't like stocks where you got to buy 100 shares to get into it like you used to. Now, you know, with all these discount companies, you can get in for, and your transaction's $10, no matter how many shares or few shares you buy.
You know,
and even the current Bitcoin.
Yeah.
They're not. The Coinbase, that's what I was saying. Boy, it's starting to get late
Coinbase
here. But even with Coinbase, you still pay a fee every time you do a transaction. That's how they make their money.
There's a backdoor, though I need to let people know about. You may not know about it. Coinbase also owns an exchange called GDAX, GDAX.com. And Coinbase is delayed by about 10 minutes. So they update every 10 minutes, the price there. GDAX is in real time. It's updated every second. And it's actually an exchange where you can see the buyers and sellers, you know, making deals. You see the buy price, the sell price. And you see the people that are queued up to want to buy or sell at that price. It's crazy. I was never involved in stocks, so this was something new to me. And you sign up with Coinbase, you get a free account of GDAX. You can go over there and just watch. Now, here's what you do. If you set up, let's say you have $100 on Coinbase, you can transfer that over to your GDAX account. It's free. And once in GDAX, now you can buy or sell one of the 4 coins that Coinbase works with. Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, and Litecoin. And what's interesting is once you get it over there, if you want to transfer it out to another exchange, they don't charge anything to do it. Or if they do, it's very nominal. Let me put it like that. I think it's very nominal. So
it's nominal.
You can get it out of GDAX to another exchange. Now, if you just tried to send it out of Coinbase, they're going to hit you with a higher fee. But it's less to transfer out through GDAX, so you can save money that way. Now, this is a true story. I know a guy who, you're talking about one of those $20 coins. Well, Litecoin was $20. You could buy in Coinbase last year. $20. Well, it got as high as, I think, almost $400 here a few months ago. It's not there today. Today, it's like 100 and, well, where are we at today? Let me look. Coin market cap. Litecoin.
It's
$195.
I have it at 191.
Okay.
192.
Pushing $200. That's a 10x jump in what you could have bought it for. I remember looking at that and I watched it and I said, man, this isn't doing anything. Oh, I would pass on that. What a mistake, man. If I could have bought 10 coins then, they'd be worth $2,000 now. And you would have spent $200 then. But here's my story. If you can find a coin that's volatile and can go up 10 points, like in the case of Litecoin, if it's 200 now, it goes up to 210 or 220, you can get these $10 jumps. What he did is he went over and he bought him 20 Litecoins, right? At $200 a pop. He put them on GDAX, and what he told me he did is he was watching the market change in real time by the second. And he said it was nothing to jump up $10, $30, $40 in a day and then drop again. He would watch it until it jumped up $10 and he'd go bam and sell all 20 of them, and he made $10 times 20, which is what, $200? Then he waited till it dropped again, bought in again, and he said he was making a couple $100 a day just day trading Litecoin. I'm not saying you can do that with every coin, and GDAX only deals with 4, but that's when I heard about the world of day trading. I thought, hey, that ain't shabby. If you could make $200 a day, as long as you could maintain that momentum. But then, if you're trying to do that now, it's just like the doldrums. There's no movement hardly.
Well, there is movement. You just have to find it.
Okay.
You have to find it. You have to look for when, like for instance, Litecoin. The day to get out of it, as I could see, was about the 15th of February when it was at 221. Now it's down to 186.
He was talking about... Go ahead.
You have to look for your opportunities.
Okay.
Because your opportunity was February 5th. And I told you that on this program. It was at 125. It got up to 221. And it actually got up to 229 at one point. You had about a 3-day thing to get out before it started going down again.
If it would get volatile again and do that on a daily basis versus having to wait a couple weeks, man, that's how they were making a couple $100 a day. He told me one day he made $800 on his investment. I said, whoa, what are you saying, buying the Litecoin? I said, that's pretty crazy. But you know what?
Yeah.
You're right. All these exchanges, they deal with a particular coin, and they're all doing versions of that. Just some cost more to get in, some are cheaper, but you also got to look at what the transaction fee is. Now, it's one thing to sell it, but what are they going to take? What's the cut?
It's usually not too much because, believe me, when they start taking too much, it gets around.
Here's a question from the chat room. Tom, is there a possibility for the government to duplicate or improve cryptocurrencies to attain financial control?
And honestly, no. Because whenever you add government to any equation, there's bloat. Governments always add people, they always add costs, and they've got to recover those costs. And to survive in business, you got to keep your costs as low as possible. And that's one of the reasons governments hate cryptocurrencies, is they are finding out they can't control it. They want to control it. They want to be able to tax it. But right now, the only way they can really tax it, well, Coinbase has said they're going to issue 1099-Bs this year. But the trouble is, 1099-B only tells you how much you collected when you sold. And so what? Maybe you sold crypto, or you sold Bitcoins for $10,000, but maybe you paid $19,000 for them.
Right. You didn't make any money. You lost money.
You didn't make any money. And so when it goes on your Schedule D, on your tax return, you're going to show a $900 or $9,000 loss per coin. And there's no tax money to be got from that.
Right.
So the IRS is sort of facing a conundrum. To get these companies to do more is more than they're going to be able to, because they can't go in there and check every transaction. There's millions of them every day. You would have to have 20 auditors working in there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and you'd have to pay them more than what you'd get out of it. So they're sort of stuck. Pretty much it's on the honor system. And that being said, I would tell people, be honest about it. Because they can, if they think you're defrauding the government, they can still get in there and they can look for your account. And they can hunt your account out of the millions. Computers do allow for that. So it's better just to tell the truth, pay your taxes, and go down the line. The guys who get away with it, they're few and far between. Yes, I know there's tax cheats that have gotten away with it, and
Well, it didn't work out too well for Wesley Snipes.
Right.
You know, I don't care if the 18th Amendment was never ratified. Tell that to a judge, and he'll say, go directly to jail. Do not pass go. Hey, let me ask you this question. There's rumors of a Fed coin, some are saying, and then there's even one. Someone sent me a picture of a coin and it has Trump next to Cyrus. Is there a Trump coin, Cyrus coin coming out?
Well, there's already been a Trump coin. Actually, some people used that to raise money for the Trump campaign. And I got a feeling if there was actually a real Trump coin, it would be worth a lot of money now because of his success.
Oh, yeah.
But there were Trump coins. Most of the time, people just bought them to contribute to the campaign.
There's also a Jamie Dimon coin.
I've been hearing rumors about that, and
I saw it. Up on the cryptocurrency charts.
I've heard, but it hasn't been released yet.
Well, it was up on the. It was one of these tokens. You know, anybody can create a token. There's a company right now that can create one in an hour. You could create one if you know how to code in about 15 minutes. Ethereum will let you create your own token, but it doesn't mean it's going to do anything. Or an exchange will take it, and so anybody can create anything. We create the kitty coin tonight if it's not already created, you know. Mega Man coin. But if you want a chance for success, you got to get it on a exchange. You need to have a good team. You need to have something that the coin's supposed to do in terms of, you know, technology, which makes it more desirable than others, or if it's going to be an ICO, you're raising money to do something special. Have you tracked Telegram ICO?
No. You know, usually I don't get very interested in ICOs because, for one thing, I don't have the technology, I don't have the information to really determine their validity. There are people that do. I let those guys decide that for me. I'm not going to get interested in a coin until it's been out there 30 or at least 90 days.
How long between the time someone says we're going to have a ICO, initial coin offering, and they do a pre-release, I guess is what you call it, where you can buy it before it's shown up on the coin market cap? How long before it actually shows up and the average Joe can go in and begin to buy and sell and trade in it?
Well, it just depends on what exchange they can get it on. And the trouble is they got to go to the exchanges and they got to sell their idea, their concept to that exchange. And that's getting very hard to do because a lot of these exchanges are not interested in taking on more coins. They're happy with the 500 they carry right now. And asking for more, you've got to really have something worth selling. And so I think the answer is going to be that there will become even more coin exchanges for a while.
Okay.
And
more coin exchanges coming?
I think so. Because eventually you've got 2,000-3,000 coins out there going to market. And most the exchanges as we have now, they handle anywhere from 400 to 400 of them, maybe 500. And that's all they can handle. Because it takes a lot of hardware to handle transactions.
Okay. Here's a fundamental question that we need to answer. What's the difference between buying cryptocurrency and gambling in Las Vegas on who's going to win a game? Is there any difference? Is buying cryptocurrency
One, when you
gambling?
go to Las Vegas, you have to understand one thing when you walk in the casino door. The house is fixed the game against you. I don't care how good you are. 9 people out of 10 walk out of there losers. That's not the case with cryptocurrencies. There are people that do make money, and they've made a lot of money. And it isn't betting. You're actually doing research. You're actually looking at these coins to see if there is a value. And if there isn't a value, you're going to walk away. When you go in there to shoot craps, your value is how well you can shoot those 2 little dice onto the wall. And if you don't do it very well, you're not going to get very far. I had a friend who walked in and he won $10,000 in about an hour. I mean, he had all the little suited guys surrounding him there checking his dice, and he was just lucky. But for every guy who does that, I can find you 1,000 who didn't.
And I'll address the side of mining. If you're mining crypto, you're not gambling. You're putting your investment in prospecting equipment, like people would buy a pickaxe and buy their pack mule and buy their victuals. And they're going out there and they're digging and they're hoping to get some gold. And they may hit gold. There may be too much competition area and there may be no gold to be found because someone else found it next to you. Or maybe the price of gold doesn't go up enough to cover the investment to mine it out of the ground. But that's not gambling in the sense of, going in and shooting craps or playing the slot machines. No, you're actually investing your time, labor, resources. No different than if you're going out prospecting for oil. That's not gambling in terms of, something of the sinful nature. Where people are going out there and playing blackjack and, getting pulled down that hole. You're actually prospecting. It's no different than mining for diamonds, gold, silver, precious metals, ore. The only difference is it's digital. And if you're mining, you're using computers instead of a pickaxe. And instead of gasoline or water to filter the rubble, you're using GPUs to break those.
And lots of them.
And lots of them, and electricity that runs 24 hours a day. And what do you get? You get some coin out of it, and hopefully you get something that goes up in value, and it can pay for the electricity and equipment that you invested. So it's not gambling. But I don't see any problem with doing your homework, like you said, watching these markets like you might do the stock market, and look for something that has a solid team behind it. The variables seem to be there to make it appear that it is legit. It's got a track record. You know, it's not fly by night. You know, Bitcoin's certainly been around 9 years. It's got value. And then you buy some in hopes that it goes up. I think that's an investment. Is it any different than putting your money in a bank and, you know, you're getting paid back an interest rate?
Which is very poor right now, I might add.
True.
I mean, you're getting 2% interest on a CD.
Right.
I mean, you're better off buying. I tell people you're better off going in the stock market and buying Johnson & Johnson. It's a New York Stock Exchange company. It's on the Dow 30. They don't take crazy risks with their drugs. But you can buy baby powder and everything else. And they're going to be around. They were around long before these tech companies were. And they're going to be around after a lot of them are gone. Yeah, and you know, there's safe bets. Union Pacific. They pay about 4 or 5% interest via dividends. And a lot of people buy preferred stock. They don't want the hassles of voting shares and stuff. They just want their money. And preferred stock does have a little bit better rate of return. And some people buy bonds because they get a better rate on them than they would from the bank. You make financial choices every day. And cryptocurrency is one of those financial choices. I'm waiting for the day when some cryptocurrency comes up with a way to pay you interest.
I thought
pay you a dividend.
I thought there was something like that tied into a Binance token. I mean, we know about Binance Exchange, great exchange. They've got a token. There was one of these, I thought, if you buy it, it will pay you dividends. I'm not sure which one it is, though, or if that was just a rumor.
Yeah, I thought it was a rumor. I haven't heard of anybody doing that. If somebody finds one, please tell me. Send me an email and tell me about it. I'll check it out.
That'd be pretty cool.
Because I will say one thing, though. There are no experts in cryptocurrency yet. Anybody who says they're an expert, discount them immediately.
Yeah.
This is so new. There are no experts yet. Honestly, when it comes to the whole IT business, there are few experts. You know, there's a lot of people who know a lot of things, but there are really few experts because there's so many ways IT works now. So many things that you do with it. And it's just, you can't know it all.
Tom,
There's no way.
Bitcoin at 20,000 on some exchanges a few months ago. Ripple was $3. You know, and on we can give the example of items double then where they are now. And really, no great leaps in the past 2 months. Nothing to write home about if you look and see Bitcoin 10,000 when it was 20, etc. How long do you estimate this can continue? Does anybody know the answer to that? And do you think, though, it's more likely that it may start to jump again? Or you think that'll be tied?
I don't know that I see a bubble. And actually, when I see bubbles, I get nervous. Because bubbles burst. They always do. It doesn't matter whether it's real estate, doesn't matter whether it's stocks, doesn't matter whether it's cryptocurrencies. When the price goes too high, eventually it's going to go down because there's going to be a point when there are more sellers than buyers.
You think?
And so I would tell people that is waiting for a bubble is not the way to make your money. Your money is in working it,
Okay.
waiting for the Bitcoin to go back down to 6,000 and buying it then. And then when it goes up to 10 or 11,000, you get rid of it. Wait for your next opportunity. Buy low, sell high. You look for your opportunities. Look for when it's going up too much to get rid of it. And then look for when it's low, when everybody else thinks it's terrible, and get back in. Because when one thing's up, another thing's going to be down. Also, you can pay attention to the outside factors that will tell you when cryptocurrencies are going to go up and down. We saw one a couple of weeks ago when the Asian markets started tanking. And when the Asian markets tanked, everybody ran to cryptocurrencies.
Right.
And there was an opportunity where you could make some money. And when you do, you wait for it to go up and up. And once it started going up, other people started getting into it too. And then as the European markets started going down and later the American markets, the cryptocurrencies went back up. And now as you see the Asian markets getting stronger again and doing better, this is when you get out and start looking for bargains. You start looking for those places when you can get back in at a low price. What you're looking for is the ones that have solid business plans, that have solid ideas of where they're going. And it doesn't hurt to start checking around and seeing what other people say. Because there's a lot of information out there. You just have to go through it, figure out if they know what they're talking about or if they're just crazy. There's a lot of crazy people on the internet, and cryptocurrencies is no exception.
Your opinion is worth as much as anybody else. In fact, more in my opinion, because of the research I know you're doing. I don't know so much about other people, but if you had to say your top 5 picks today, what would be your top 5 based on what you've studied so far?
Okay. I would pick one right now. It's selling at about $2, maybe 20 cents. You might be able to look on the charts and see what it's selling for at the moment. But I like Eternity. I think they have a good business concept. I think they're going to do quite well in the future, and they're bucking the trends right now, which is surprising to me. I thought they would be sort of down, but these last 2 days when everybody else went down, they went up. That gets my attention. One I liked until a little while ago when it went to its top was Byteball. It got up to $752. Then suddenly the markers went off and now it's down at $395. I'm starting to wonder if that isn't a buying opportunity. And if you want to burn $400, that might be a fairly good choice. If you got to have a cash equivalent, I still like Ethereum Classic. It's pretty cheap, and I think it still has a little bit of potential to go up. It won't go up as much as a lot of others, but I think there's some possibilities there. The other one that's caught my attention is one that's getting beat up because natural gas is getting beat up, but it's called Gas, and they're a break off from Neo. And Neo's been a fairly good company. They're out of China, and they had a pretty bad, they had an expo up in San Francisco about 3 weeks ago. But they have a good concept, and they've got good programmers, and And Gas and Neo are both ones I like. I also like Lisk. Even though it's been beat up because of their poor performance, I still think basically you can use Lisk to build your own blockchain and to use it in your business model. And they will support you and they will give you a lot of help to do that. They've built their own programming language. I think it's a sort of a great idea. Another one I raved about yesterday, and it survived, was Nano. It's sort of had its tough times as of late, but I think it's at a little under $10 right now. I think it has some future to it. And I also, I guess I like Walton Chain. It's about $20 too. I think it has a lot of future to it because they're using RFID tags on products and they're doing the smart contracts. I like smart contracts. I also like VeChain. It's at $5. I think it has a lot of upward mobility. It's maybe a little bit overpriced, but I think it's good concept company, and I think there's a lot of future in it. And I think those are my favorites at this point. You know, if you want another one that I think's been sort of beat up lately, but I think has some potential, look at EOS. And I would say those are my top ones. There's some other good ones, and you know, my limitation is I want them to be out there a little while before I'll take a look, and before I'll start evaluating them. I want to at least have some time in it. Usually, well, maybe about 20 weeks is what I want to see as far as life. Because I want to see an 89-day model. Well, Bitcoin Gold, I sort of violated that rule because I've been following it for a while, and it's really not been out there but about 80 days now. Because it was out there, but until an exchange grabbed it, it wasn't going to take. But now it's taking, and it's really doing pretty well, I think.
Yeah, you can pick it up on Binance, which is, you know, one of the fastest growing exchanges out there. Will crypto go away? I don't think anytime soon, folks. Is it here to stay in America? I think so, because some of your biggest exchanges are in America, namely Coinbase and others. The government has already ruled on it. They're just going to tax it. And, you know, that's good news that they're talking about it. They've made some rulings on it. It means it's here to stay. I know that they're going to be looking very carefully at the ICOs, and they're going to be very stringent on enforcing, you know, the market to try to weed out the scammers. There are a lot of scammer ICOs out there. And I think they're going to come down on a lot of these scams like the BitConnect. Stay away from Thorn Coin. Stay away from any, what they say, crypto opportunity where they guarantee you, if you give them Bitcoin, they're going to pay you back a % rate, guaranteed. They call it staking. You're going to stake your $300 of Bitcoin with us, and we promise to pay you back up to 40% interest. That's the kind of scam that is known as a Ponzi scam, you know, where they're guaranteed you a payout, and they have an MLM built into it. Stay away from these, folks. Most of them don't even last 30 days. I can name a whole half dozen of them. Ambus, BitLake, Microhash, that all imploded. BitPetite, Thunderbit. Stay away from those. That's not crypto investing. That's just being stupid. And be stupid once, but don't make the same mistake twice. Once you found out what
That's why I don't. That's why I don't even like to look at them for 90 days.
And those
And
are
even then, I'm going to have to scrutinize it. I'm going to have to see how many exchanges it's gotten on.
yeah.
Because if the exchange is not going to take a fraudulent customer if they can help it. Because if they take a fraudulent coin, it hurts them. So they're going to try to weed out the bad ones. So always check to see what exchanges they're on. And as I say, the big thing is, if you really want to pick ones to be around, Bitcoin's always been there, Litecoin's always been there, Ethereum's always been there.
Yeah.
And they're going to be around. They're going to be around. In fact, I hate to say it, that we're going to probably be around when a lot of government currencies collapse.
Interestingly enough, have you been following what's going on in Venezuela with Maduro?
Yes. Yeah, with the Petro coin.
Have they officially launched that yet?
They've actually done some launching on it. And it's really going to be a question as to whether the exchanges are going to pick it up. And
Russia.
I've heard Iran's thinking about doing it.
Really?
And I'm sure North Korea is not far behind.
Man, they need money, and they're already hacking people's Bitcoin. They're also mining by hacking other people's computers in the West. I wouldn't be surprised that they get behind it. Cuba. Pretty much all of Cuba's commercial ventures involving tourism and just about anything else are owned by the military there. There's a name for it. I looked them up the other day. It's public knowledge. And you go to Cuba and you stay in a hotel. It's owned by the military. So the money is going in to the military's coffers for their defense budgets. They own everything over there, pretty much. And
yes, and that's what communism's about. It's about a centralized government. It's about a few people running everything. A benevolent dictatorship, almost like Plato's Republic. If you want to read about the first communist society, read Plato's Republic. Years ago, my friend Olaf Hagee challenged me to read it. Actually read it. And I did, and I was sort of in shock.
Is it a far stretch? Go ahead.
Yeah, you can get Plato's Republic on what, there's several places you can get it. The most common one, and it's escaping my mind. That tells me how late it is. But Gutenberg, on Gutenberg.org, you can get most of these famous books and you can get them as ebooks, and there's no sense in buying this stuff anymore. And this is one of the things that Cuba's about, Soviet Russia was about, China's about. It's centralized government, controlled by a few.
Not a far stretch, and to think that Korea or other groups out there that want to raise some money may actually create crypto. Even if we don't know that there's a company fronting for them, they don't have any problem letting money exchange through multiple hands to get back to them to bolster their failing economy over there and the sanctions. Well, it's an interesting world. I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon in terms of collapse. I think it's only going to rise. I see it as a shelf life like anything, an opportunity if you can get the right one, make some money, pay off your debts, have some money to put into kingdom work, whatever you need. And I think it's as good as anything out there that you can get involved in. As long as gold and silver being manipulated, that's not the ticket. And so I think it's here to stay. A lot of the problem with the tumbling prices happened because of South Korea trying to silence crypto over there, and then, as you mentioned, India and China. But I think they've done what they're going to do, And I think it's only going to get better. One thing, though, which has very troubled me is everything seemed to be taking a dive around the same time as Wall Street said we're going to allow futures trading on this. And when I saw, I think there were two futures that were, I don't know what you call them, of two funds or two places that you could
there's
speculate.
about 3 of them that have been proposed, but so far the SEC has not ruled on them yet.
Well, there's 2 that are active, and the people are trading futures on Bitcoin. They're betting on, will Bitcoin go up or will it crash? And okay, but everything seemed to begin to take when that happened. Do you think that's had an effect?
I don't see the connection. What you have to understand with futures, most people buy a future to protect a price at a point in time in the future. Let's say I want to buy a machine from Mercedes-Benz, but I call them up and they say, well, we can't have it built for 90 days. But when we build it, we will charge you 10,000 euros. Well, I'm sitting over here. I want to make sure that the 10,000 euros I pay is going to be the same as it is in 90 days. So I hedge my bet by buying a future on euros for $10,000. So that if the price goes up, I'm still paying the same thing. That's what most people do with futures. Yes, there are speculators. Everybody talks about the dirty speculators and how they're ruining the stock market and they're ruining the cash grain market. I've heard farmers complain about it for years. Yet my uncle, who is an Iowa farmer, he had 640 acres in Black Hawk County, Iowa. He come there about June, July, when he's figured out how much corn he's going to raise. What does he do? He goes down and buys futures at the brokerage firm for all those corn futures, so he can lock his price in at $2.80 a bushel. Because you know what's going to happen to that price is everybody starts selling their corn come November or December. It's going to be around $2. So what did my uncle do? He hedged his price. He knew what he was going to get later down the road.
But in crypto, you're gambling on whether it's going to go up or down. Do you ever actually take physical control of the crypto, or are you just placing a bet?
Have to do it.
Okay.
That's what happens with a futures contract, is eventually you'd have to take delivery unless you sell the contract. So here I am. Let's say I've got a business transaction and this guy wants to charge me 15 Bitcoins for this. Now that means I'm going to be paying $150,000. As a businessman, I'm looking at that and I want to keep that price at $150,000. I don't want to go down the road and have that thing go up to $15,000 and suddenly I'm spending a lot more money for it. So I'm going to buy a futures to protect the upside, so I'm not paying more than I'm supposed to pay. So that's what you use futures contracts for, is to protect yourself from rising prices, because inflation's a problem, and I think it'll be a problem in Bitcoin in time. So what you're going to do, you're going to do things to protect your prices. It's like I say, I'm buying that machine from that guy in Germany, and he says, okay, it's going to cost you 10 Bitcoins. Well, I don't want to suddenly 90 days later see that thing at 15,000 and suddenly I'm paying a lot more for it, 50% more.
Yeah, when Bitcoin today would be worth 10,000, let's say 90 days from now, it potentially went up to 20,000, and you didn't lock it in at that price, then yeah, now you're paying double.
Yeah, and I can't, and no businessman can afford that. So that's why they have futures contracts.
Okay.
That way you can protect yourself against the prices going up. Now, what people can also do, is they can do it to protect themselves from the price going down. Let's say you're worried that you've got this $10,000 Bitcoin and you want that value to stay at $10,000 over the next 90 days because you've got bills that you got to pay in 30 days with that $10,000 Bitcoin. And you need that Bitcoin to stay at $10,000. So you buy yourself a futures contract to make sure that you're going to get $10,000 for your Bitcoin.
Got it. So there is a viable market there for that, and that's just one of many factors.
They call it hedging in the business.
Okay.
And what you want to do is you're hedging your bet. You bought this piece of equipment for 10 Bitcoins. That means you want to keep that price at 100,000. You don't want it to go up to 15,000. You got to pay 150 grand. Then you got to explain that to your boss. Well, boss, I'm sorry, but it's now 150,000. He's going to say, well, you negotiated it for 100,000. What's the deal here? And you're probably going to get a pink slip and walk out the front door after making a move like that. But if you make the deal, you buy your futures contract to protect it, suddenly you have somebody willing, even though the market's 15,000, you got somebody ready to sell you Bitcoin at 10.
I want to know if you buy Tron at 4 cents a piece and you were to buy 10,000 of them, which meant you put $400 into it, what is the likelihood it's going to go up to $1 and you've turned that $400 into $10,000?
All I can say is you're going to have to look at Tron's concepts. And I looked at it a long time ago. I didn't quite see where they had anything that was going to raise that value that much. Because I look at something and it's like I told you about Lisk at the beginning of the show. My question that they did not answer is, how is Lisk going to make me money? And that's what I have to ask with every crypto coin I look at, is how is that crypto coin going to make me money? And if they can't answer that question for me, I move on.
Man, I wonder if you ask that question of all of them, how many would actually have an answer to the affirmative?
I don't think that a lot of them would. I think Lisk had an answer, but they didn't project that answer to their investing public, and their coin went down as a result. But I do think, I like the idea of them developing a programming language that allows other people to employ blockchain without having to reinvent the wheel to do it. And I think in the long run, they're going to make a lot of money with it. And I think this $20 price is a rather good chance to get in on it. They made their mistake, and I think in some ways they took the whole market down with them the last couple of days because they didn't project themselves.
What do you think?
And
Why not? just go all in on doggy coin. If we put 10,000, we could buy 10,000 doggy coin for $63. If it goes up to $1.
Well, my thing with Dogecoin, as I call it, I think it's what you do. I see the stock market's going to go down the next week. I don't want to be around when it does. So I'm going to plant my $6,000 nest egg in Dogecoin, knowing that it's probably going to pretty much hold its price. And I'm going to keep it there until the market cools down somewhere else.
If you literally put $6,000 in Dogecoin today, that you would get 950,780 doggy coins. Almost 1 million coins. Wow.
I don't know about
What if it went up to $1?
Because it's sort of, last 3 days, it's taken quite a tumble. It was up at 0.7 cents. It's now down to 0.74 cents.
Yeah,
now
not even a penny.
To 0.61 cents. That's quite a bit of chunk if you buy a lot of it.
There's a coin out there right now you could buy. You could get 1 million coins for under $50. Or a few weeks ago, it was called Pack Coin. Everybody was talking about Pack Coin. But what you didn't know is that they were planning to recall the coins and revalue it and reissue them like 10,000 to 1, let's just say. I forget what the ultimate number was. So for every 10,000, they'd give you one of the new ones. Well, then the deal didn't seem...
They call that in the stock market world, they call that a reverse split.
Reverse split. They actually did that with Packcoin because they realized we got too many of them in circulation.
The most famous reverse split was Citibank back in 2008.
Really?
If you had 100 shares of Citibank, they called those in and you got 10. Because they wanted to get their stock price over $10.
Wow.
So the people could buy it on margin. Because, Citibank, it went down to about $1 a share.
Wow.
And
where are they at today?
You would have had a little patience with it. Well, let's put it in here.
I mean, come on, Citibank's got to be here to stay.
Citigroup right now is worth $76.27 a share.
Boy, that's like a 75x.
So you would have made your money out of it.
Wow.
But Citigroup has been around a long time. That's one thing that's why people still had faith in it. And they still hung on. A lot of people got upset and they sold their stock for $10 a share back in 2007. Here it is 10 years later and it's $76. And that's down quite a bit. It was, actually it isn't down that much. It was up to $80 for a while.
Folks, has this piqued your interest out there? This is a very interesting area to look into. It's going to make some people some money. Others will lose money. There's no guarantees. It's super volatile. Don't do like one guy told me he was going to do. He says, dang, I should have sold my truck, sold everything I had and put it into Bitcoin. And I told him, I said, no, don't do that. I said, you can be riding around with no car. You'll be on Uber. And he says, see, I shouldn't have listened to you because then it jumped up, right? But then what he didn't realize, no one realized, is it was going to drop back down to half. I think he's glad he listened to my advice. He didn't sell his truck. I'm talking about my brother. I can bust his chops.
I would say this much. I would say this about any time you see a price of anything go up and up and up. You know, about a month ago, everybody thought the stock market was just going to go up and through the roof. Then suddenly it went down.
Yeah.
Whenever something goes up, there's a risk it's going to go down. And I know I used to hear the elders in my family, they would complain, these stocks are too expensive at this price. I won't get in. And sure enough, they didn't. And they waited for their opportunities. My dad had one cousin. He was a Cornell University graduate. He taught agriculture. But he watched that stock market, and he kept his little charts. He didn't have any computers. Nobody did in those days. He kept track of everything on these little sheets of paper, and I used to help him do it. Remember one time visiting him when I was in the Army, and I got over there, and he was working on his sheets, and he started showing me how to do it. And a lot of what I do now is based upon, it got its start in what he did. And he would watch these things. He would check for highs, check for lows. And he hadn't learned about standard deviations and how to use those yet. He died before I could show that to him. In fact, I'm sure family elders, if any of them were alive and they saw what I do, they'd want a copy of the program and they'd want to do it for themselves.
Well, how do people get a copy of the cryptocurrency report?
Basically, just send me an email with your email address, your name and your email address, to Tom, just T-O-M, at the cryptocurrency report, all one word, .co. Think Colorado.
Are you on mountain?
That's where I'm.
You on mountain time out there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so I'm not going to keep you up past 1, but I do have one bonus question to ask you.
I shall try.
If I was to drive a car and you were to stand on top of it, and we were to get that car up to about 60 miles an hour and you're still standing up there, and you decided to jump up into the air, how high would you have to jump up before I would leave you in the dust and you'd land on the ground?
Not very far.
Or a train for that fact. Let's say you're on a train, right? And we're on the top of the train and it's up to 60 miles an hour, and you jump as high as you can. When you came down, would you land on the same point that you jumped off of? I guess that's
No.
a better question.
No. That's just simple mathematics.
But I thought if you're traveling at the same speed as that, wouldn't you land back on the same spot?
No, because the train's moving. You're jumping. You're still in a stationary position.
Yep.
And when you land at the same point, that train's traveled 60 miles and you haven't.
You better hope you got a long train then.
Or you may be on the ground and probably dead.
We talk about everything on this program. Physics, coins, you name it. You know what? You can have a lot of fun in this, but don't put into it what you can't afford to lose. That's the old adage. Buy high, sell low. These are some of the, the maxims. Is that what it's called, a maxim?
Yes.
And
just also, just remember, don't try to do too much. Don't try to be a hog. Because the bulls make money, the bears make money, but the hogs get slaughtered.
And they turn you into bacon? Is that where cooking the bacon comes from? They cook my bacon?
Well, the only people that actually bring in the bacon are congressmen and senators when they try to sell or when they try to add pork to a bill. They call that bringing home the bacon.
And watch out for the wolves. I think that's a new category that we create just for crypto world. They're the groups.
So there were wolves in the stock market. There's always been that.
Oh.
There's been sharks and everything else. These guys, I mean, Bernie Madoff supposedly did his playing stock market. So did Leland Stanford.
Did that
So
dude?
did a lot of these other guys.
Did Madoff die in jail, or is he still alive over there?
As far as I know, he's still alive.
That dude. What is it about their names? Some of their names give them away. Madoff. He made off with the money. Is that just a freak coincidence or what?
Well,
I'm just saying.
he basically stated, you could say that about some people you can say that about people in
Ministry?
in Christianity. Yeah.
There's
Look
a dude.
at Oral Roberts. He's orally robbing the people.
Oh, wow. What about Cash Luna?
Robert Tilton robbing the till.
Brother, that guy
There's a
is
bunch of others.
that guy is going to be at the Great White Throne Judgment. I think he's perfectly possessed. You know what? I hope that I am wrong, and he does repent, but that dude was bad. If there's anybody blaspheming the Holy Spirit, I would really worry about some of the things I've seen him do. But there is a guy over in Latin America. His name is Cash Luna. In America, we got Creflo Dollar. What's up with this? Is this just coincidence? Or does that say something about their character? I don't know. But Bernie Madoff. He made off with the money. And that's not the first time that this is done, or will be the last time. Don't get eaten by these wolves. They're sitting out there on the sidelines waiting to pounce on you and take your hard-earned Bitcoin, eat you for lunch, and then they escape to the next scam. Don't do it. Stay away from Thorncoin. We did a video on that one.
Well, when it comes to names, I'm going to get you a scripture here in a minute. And I think you need to, when you see somebody's name, names mean something.
I think that they do.
David said it. As a man's name is, so is he. And I'll get you the scripture here in a minute.
I couldn't make that up. Bernie Madoff. He made off with billions of dollars. And you know what? His target were the Hollywood elite. Many of them got taken. And there was many of those people who had retired. They were literally going to get jobs at Walmart because everything they had was put in there. They were told, hey, invest a little bit more. I remember a story, true story, personal story. There was a guy who had been working with my grandfather for years. They'd been friends in ministry, rather. And this particular brother, he was a Church of God man, would preach, but him and his wife started a homeless mission, started a Bible school, everything over in Bulgaria. And this guy, he was a salesman, and he did a number of things. One of the things he did is he sold funeral plots. And over a couple of decades, he had accumulated about $1 million that was going to be his retirement account. He'd worked hard, okay? But some guy came along from Maine. How he met him, I don't know the whole story, but he said, look, I operate an investment fund, and I can get you a really high rate of interest. Sort of like they're doing now in the cryptocurrency market, like with BitConnect, what happened. They're guaranteeing you large rates of interest that banks don't pay. And you know what? He gave the guy some money. Sure enough, the guy kept his word. And when he got his first payment, he said, wow. And this guy set up him to later pull him all in. And he paid him for a while, and then he came back and said, now invest a little bit more. Got another opportunity. And when he did it this time, he went in for the kill shot. Took the money and ran.
That's what Bernie Madoff did.
He called my granddad. He was having a nervous breakdown. Brother Weber, I've lost it all. He called my granddad, Brian, I've lost it all. Granddad's first name, Brian. And they finally got together, probably went down to the Waffle House or somewhere, had some coffee. And he explained what he had done, that he had been taken. Folks, it's been happening for 1,000 years. Ponzi schemes, they make off with the money. This dude ran off to Maine. They called the law on him, tracked it down. The guy had spent like all the money. And what they did is he got a judgment against him in court that, as any money surfaced, he would have to pay it back. But that money's never going to surface. That money was long gone. or hidden, whatever the guy did with it, I don't know. But how sad. He'd worked his whole life and got taken. Don't be a fool and believe these schemes that they say they're going to pay you 40% interest rate. Doesn't work. 10%, 1%. Don't do it. Vitalik Buterin said, smells like a scam to me. These are not crypto coin investments. Sadly, I know some people that got involved in it, and it all went belly up. They lost everything they put into it. Very sad. Back to you.
Okay, 1 Samuel 25:25. Remember this verse.
What's it say?
Let not my Lord, David, I pray thee, regard this man of Belial, even Nabal. For as his name is, so is he. Nabal is his name, and folly is with him. And the Nabal in Hebrew means fool.
Wow.
And this is a biblical concept. This is a biblical concept. Be careful what you name your children. Do you want to name your child Nabal?
What about Condoleezza Rice? Or did I misspell her name?
Well,
that was a
pretty close.
That was a low punch, but folks, that lady was crooked to the core. I'm just saying, it is very strange that many of these people, their very name tells you what they're going to do. People should have already been able to point out Jezebel. Jeze, her last name was Baal, wasn't it? Bell?
Yeah, Bell.
You know who she was worshiping. I'm just saying.
Yeah, well, yeah. And, Zidonians Zidon was one of the big cities in that region of the world. And to marry up a couple in that regard was, well, you have to understand, Omri, was he a good king?
What was his name, Omri?
Omri, Omri.
You know what? I don't remember him.
Oh, well, you better go study him. He was a naughty king.
Really?
He was wicked. His son was Ahab. So would you expect this man to make a good deal? I mean, does evil fruit come from a good tree? Does good fruit come from an evil tree?
Also, don't trust a politician if they're a former oil exec or they worked for a company called Halliburton or have interest in it. We might be in war.
That wasn't always its name, because that company, you've gotten me away from what I was studying, but Halliburton, I cannot remember its old name. You're going to cause me to go to the internet and look that up.
But I know Dick Cheney was heavily invested in Halliburton. Condoleezza Rice was also...
He was president of Halliburton.
Oh, then is it any wonder why you would want to be in a war that is continuing today into 2018, 17 years later, when you're making money off of military contractors or...
Okay, well, they sold that off. They sold most of that off. Blackwater no longer is part of Halliburton.
Well, after he got paid, I'm sure he got paid 10 times over. He made his money, and Rumsfeld and Condoleezza Rice, oil execs, all those people got paid. Bush. And this is not for this show because we run out of time, but I believe I'm close to finding a connection between the Bush family and Adolf Hitler. I believe that they're modern-day Nazis.
Oh, it's already there. Go to Union Bank.
Brown Brothers Harriman?
Yes.
Otto Skorzeny, which is... Go ahead.
Yeah, the...
Otto Skorzeny?
Otto Skorzeny.
Yep, who was Hitler's bodyguard?
Well, among other things, he was famous for rescuing Mussolini.
Yep.
He was also famous for getting that Hungarian out of trouble when the Russians were moving in. There was another thing he was famous for. And I've heard stories that Scorzani didn't die until 1996.
You know what? I wouldn't doubt it. The dude that was over there in the concentration style camp, it was a cult compound, Colonia something in Chile.
That was real interesting.
That dude
And
lived until like 2004. There were other Nazis who lived until like 98, and they had a funeral over in Argentina for him. The reason I mention Otto Skorzeny, though, is he's reported to have said the Bush family, their true surname is Scherf, and they came directly from Germany, and he said they had Nazi ties. I wouldn't doubt it one bit. I believe the Nazis made it to the White House.
Well, they most certainly did. What do you think? You know, when we had Papa Bush, or Poppy as they called him, that was the dad. You had George W., and in between they had Bill Clinton, who was making money off Bush business, and
Mena.
Yeah, Mena, Arkansas. I have a friend who lives pretty close to there, and the stories he's told.
The drug running operation that the dude, it was in the movie with Tom Cruise, Barry
Seal.
Barry Sills. They exposed a lot in that movie. It's amazing that a lot of people maybe did not realize all these guys were in bed together. Just like after World War II, you know, Martin Bormann helped launch 750 Nazi-funded worldwide businesses. I heard a number the other day that not only 10,000 escaped via the rat trails and the help of the International Red Cross and the Catholic Church, but it was more like 60,000.
And that number's probably low.
Did you, by the way, watch the Hunting Hitler series? Just curious. Series 3?
Yes, I'm working on it. I haven't gotten to the last couple yet.
Pretty good, actually. And I hope they have a Series 4 because they don't answer the question of where is Hitler. It's a cliffhanger. I think if anybody knows.
They haven't finished this season yet, so they may answer that.
I think they just finished it because I saw the last episode.
No, they still got a couple more from what I understand. I think they did 13 episodes.
Oh, really?
But they haven't aired them yet.
Oh, I hope that's the case because it was pretty good, but then it just left me hanging with no promo for the next show. That was the point. Normally they show you the sneak preview of the next week. But I'm watching the iTunes version. I got the series on iTunes. And they load.
Well, what you're getting, they don't release them. They don't release them to iTunes until after the show has been put on History Channel.
Well, I hope I'm wrong, and there's more to come because I think they're doing a great job, and I'd like to see more. It's been so good so far, but I think if anybody knows, Harry Cooper probably does. He says he's been told in confidence, and Hitler did escape the bunker. I believe the Bush family are part of the Fourth Reich, and crooked to the core, and as well as that other guy, the Abomination. I think he's being funded. They're all being funded. The Clintons, Abomination, the Bushes. Look, we've had dictators in power for the last 25 years. Thank God we finally broke that with some prayer, and we got a guy who's our best shot for some freedom here in America, for a reprieve, because they were about to do us all in.
Okay, let me explain a couple of things here. I did check some things out. You want to look up Dresser Industries. The Bushes were big in that.
Okay.
And Dresser, I know a little bit about because I've had to deal with them. I won't say how, but. And then you also want to look at Brown and Root. That was the name of Halliburton back in the 60s.
Brown and
Lyndon
Root.
Johnson was dirty in Brown and Root. And he made a lot of money making sure that they made money.
Any connection to Bechtel oil?
Bechtels are another story, all its own.
Okay.
You have to understand, these Texas oil men are connected.
Man, I believe it. Oh, boy. I believe there's a wicked cabal there that many of these guys were in on the assassination of JFK. I believe Bush Sr. was a part of that group.
Well, there's been a very curious picture that has surfaced showing him in Dallas on Elm Street.
I saw that. Could that be him, the young Bush, at the time?
And that's one of the things and he cannot account for his whereabouts.
Oh, wow. You know,
He makes up this story that he was in Tyler, Texas, but nobody can verify it.
be sure your sins will find you out. Shall we believe the testimony of Colonel Bo Greitz, the most decorated man during Vietnam, who interviewed General Kaesong, who said, Poppy Bush was my partner in drug smuggling out of the Golden Triangle, Cambodia, Laos, and Vietnam?
I believe it. But I think we need to talk to the major a little more about this.
Well, let's do that. And we may need to postpone this because Mama is yelling at me to get off the air. She's got to run an errand. Boy, folks,
Well,
be revisited.
we've covered a lot, and I'd really like to talk about this when I've prepared for it.
Let's do it. We'll revisit the Fourth Reich in America.
Well, and I need to dig into a lot of research. I have a bunch of books over here to go through, and a bunch over in my bedroom, and a bunch over here, because Olaf Hagee did a lot of research on this, but he never published or even put in his reports a lot of what he discovered. So
I can share this fact because Harry did share it on the air. I said, Harry, is Odessa real? And are they still alive? His response is yes and yes.
He's right.
That's kind of scary.
You got to understand, these people want world government. But the one thing that I found is, we call it deep state now.
Yes.
But I'm finding that deep state's starting to fall apart. And you know what? I think the devil is through with them. Because he can't trust them. I need to pull out a video and play it for you. It came from the TV show Supernatural. And a person playing the King of Hell yelled at one of his demons. He said, "This is not Wall Street. This is hell."
Wow.
When we make a deal, we keep it.
Wow.
If we don't keep it, who will trust us? Nobody.
That's interesting.
And you hear that coming from a demon. Do you think these demons trust the Clintons? You think these demons trust the Bushes? And my answer is, I don't think so. So I think they're going to ditch the whole lot of them. They've got another plan. And it's this other plan that I'm looking for. But they're going to keep this stringing along as long as they can, so they can keep Christians chasing their tails.
I just hope finally someone puts one of these people in orange jumpsuits. I'm just tired of following the Fox News. I turned it off because there's no real breakthrough. Come on, let's prosecute for Uranium One and all these other scandals. Let's put them up the river.
Well, I think...
Or is it down the river? I forget.
I think they're going to be dead before they get them up the river.
Shoot, from the look of Bill Clinton, he looks like he's already half dead. I don't know if he's got AIDS or what, but His
That's
face
what
was,
I keep hearing, but
look at
you
his
know,
face.
I
Face
can't
is like,
confirm it.
or it could be cancer. Something sucking in his face. He doesn't look healthy. And if I'm wrong, then please eat, because you're looking like an extra out of Walking Dead, a zombie. I'm going to stop right there
Okay.
before this show gets really weird and we break off in all kinds of tangents.
Well, why don't we play Marsha's last piece of music and then call it a show?
We're going to do it one more time. If someone wants to contact you, get a free copy of the Cryptocurrency Report. How can they do that?
Go to Tom at thecryptocurrencyreport.co.
Okay, I want to thank you for coming on tonight. And Tom, what is your email address?
I just told you.
Same one.
Yes, just, I have a bunch of them. You can, but if you get in touch there, I can, we still have the publishing company. I'll still do books. I still have the Cryptocurrency Report. We still have the foundation. We do a lot of research through that. And if you want a website, it's whitestonefoundation.org.
There we go. That's what I meant to ask you for. Website. Fantastic. We'll put this in the show notes. My brother, God bless you. I want to thank Sister Marcia for the music. And my brother, we'll see you next time.
Okay. Hopefully we can do this in about 2 weeks because things change.
Okay, you tell me what the next date is because I'm booking for March and we'll get her done.
Sounds good.
Okay, next time, please don't talk so much. I was trying to speak tonight. Just kidding. I'm sorry, brother. I meant to hold back. You just kept triggering me to break off into some crypto rants. I apologize, my brother. I'll try to let you talk more next time.
That's okay.
We love you.
That's okay. I like going back and forth. I think
care,
it's
Tom.
good.
God bless.
Omega Man Radio has been commissioned to invade deep into enemy territory, drive out the hosts of hell, and take back the land. Our mission is to preach Jesus Christ, the Son of God, who is the only name written under heaven by which men might be saved, cast out demons, and pray for the sick that they may be healed in Jesus' name. If this program is a blessing to you and you would like to take part in this harvest of souls, join with us and attack the hosts of hell by donating any amount online at www.omegamanradio.com. You may also donate by sending check or money order to 9030 West Sahara Avenue, Suite 665, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89117. We thank you.